Just getting U.S. non-farm payrolls here, 177,000 versus 228,000 expected for last month. Again, a little bit to the downside, but higher than most forecasts there. 177 the print versus 228,000 the prior. 138 was the forecast. Again, that 228 number, the prior 177 this month for U.S. non-farm payrolls. Private payrolls, 167,000 versus 125,000. Again, a little bit higher than expected. U.S. average work week hours, 34.3 to the upside as well versus 34.2 expected there. Labor force participation also to the upside, just 0.1%, but 62.6% versus 62.5% expected there. Overall, the market should be liking that. Yeah, there we go. 0.6 to the upside for the NASDAQ right now. A nice green candle coming in on that number. Again, if you're just joining, 177,000 versus 138,000 expected there for U.S. non-farm payrolls. 228, though, keep that in mind, was the last print. 3.8% on the average earnings year over year versus 3.9% forecast. So across the board, a little bit better than expected here. Already 0.75 there. The Q still going to the upside. S&P going to be liking this as well. Man, what a day shaping up here. A ton of things to get to. You saw this one to start things off there. Airbnb not really moving on that as it shouldn't. We'll talk about its earnings coming up here. Apple also not really moving on that. Yeah, pretty ugly quarter there for Apple. We'll touch on that coming up as well. Amazon, the other big one today. Trying to take out the highs here. We're already back to green for Amazon, so maybe a little bit overdone after the close yesterday for that one. But a ton of earnings. And that number is definitely going to help out sentiment here.
Absolutely. Good look there. Widely expected to have some weakness coming into this quarter as a result of Liberation Day and the unexpected consequences of the tariffs. So hiring as well as, job growth kind of be put on pause. Lots to talk about today, guys. Apple, Amazon, all reporting yesterday. Block as well as Reddit. We have MicroStrategies, Airbnb, as Brendo mentioned. Lots to talk about. Meta coming out with a separate headline. Disclosing how much they intend to spend on AI in the future. That's a result of a lawsuit being levied against them by a content creator who is accusing them of using his intellectual property without permission. Take-Two Interactive also, Brendo, delaying GTA 6. I don't know how many times. Yeah, exactly. How many times we're going to get the delay there. So lots to talk about today. And then China in focus, obviously responding to some of the overtures Donald Trump has made about tariffs.
I was expecting just another, I don't know what they're talking about. We're not talking to anyone, but yeah, no, it doesn't come that way this time. April non-farm pay rate, here's a better look. 177,000, the number there. Again, the prior, this was the revised number, so 185. It was 220 was the actual print. If you go back a month ago, it's tough to see, but there's a tiny little R right beside there. It means revised. The consensus, 130 on this page. It was 122. I was looking at another 140,000. Was the forecast. Unemployment rate 4.2%, exactly in line with expectation. Sean is enjoying a much-deserved day off. Obi's in today. Good morning, guys.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everybody. Obi in the building, clearly ready to head to Miami. No, I was walking in the kitchen just like 20 minutes ago, and caught like Joe and Obi. I'm like, man. Boys look like they're ready to go to the club, but not just any club. They look like they were ready to go hop in the G6 and fly down to Miami or something. Looking sharp.
Soon, eventually. We'll get to that level soon enough. But we'll see what moves are going to be happening here in the market today. Lots of earnings on board. I was just talking to everybody here. I have a lot of names for earnings, over 10 tickers on watch today for myself. But I think stock selection is going to be very, very key today. A lot of things are moving around, a lot of interesting price action. We saw how crazy the market was into the close yesterday with a little bit of a quadunk, with maybe a potential sell imbalance coming in. But it was interesting that sellers were in charge pretty much all day. And then at the end of the day, they just hammer the bid, which is pretty crazy. But now we're bidding up on today's economic number, so that 20,000 on the NASDAQ seems like it's still a little interesting. We saw a bit of a magnet to that level yesterday. over and under. But I'm curious to know what you guys have on watch today. So make sure you don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your ideas in the chat for us to take a look at. But yeah, exciting stuff here. Apple, Amazon, of course. So we're going to be swinging swinging in the forest, maybe.
We were joking about this. It seems as if you're always in when Amazon reports earnings.
Maybe,
Yet, it's not as if Amazon's been, like that was like a 2 years ago that you traded Amazon almost every single day.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
2 years.
It's not even, it's been at least a year. No, but in all seriousness, like AWS disappointment, who cares? Apparently we can go green on this. I don't want to throw any cold water on the numbers that we just got this morning, but I mean, the average hourly earnings was actually down, right? So I think, I don't know, we got some weak economic data earlier in the week, and this so far looks good. It has like a whole overall like mixed feel to it. So I think it's still going to be much more about individual earnings and individual situations and any headlines we see regarding tariffs. I mean, the fact that there's allegedly some talks going on between the U.S. and China is obviously going to be a positive, I think, for the markets in here. But yeah, like every stock is a different story. Like Amazon's reaction to be able to go green, I mean, it was buying up going into all of this. Whereas when you look at, I look at something like Apple, well, Apple was downward trending going into this. So that's kind of unbroken. And then, oh goodness, Block. Yeah, the Block is not hot right now.
Oh boy.
There was a moment just before we came on, and Shreve was at his desk, like, doing his thing, doing his research, and then all of a sudden, I just hear him, like, under his breath, he's like, what the? And I go, oh, you just Block, right? It's like, you knew. Like, there's only 2 stocks you could be looking at when you have that, oh, what the? It has to be Block, or it had to be Atlassian. Both of them very, very different looking from the rest of the market here. Tesla, 1.5%, NVIDIA, 1.5 now, like that just got back above a very important 113 level that you don't want to fight with. And as Joe has mentioned, 114 has been a brick wall on this stock. Maybe we finally get the breakout through 115 on NVIDIA today. So much room if this could go, so much room. Yeah, so there's a lot going on. It's hard for any Canadians not to be, Torontonians not to be happy today because Elise pulled it off. I'm sure you don't know that.
Oh, did they? Okay, all right, let's go. That's awesome. Yeah. Let's go.
I know Joe's excited.
Go Leafs
and
go, right?
Joe, that was legit. That was legit. So Joe
turned it off.
Joe turned it off when they tied it in the third.
Oh, come on.
You can't turn it off at that point.
No.
Like so I have to cop to this because my daughter was doing her Duolingo, and then we did kind of do stories together after. And I had, like, when she was doing her Duolingo, which usually I'm a little more engaged with, I'm sitting there with the game on my phone watching the third period. And of course, when they ended, I'm like, okay, we're good to go. But yeah, fantastic for them. Obviously, a big shout out to all of the Leafs fans out there. I know most of you guys are American, but we haven't won in my lifetime, so obviously we get a little bit excited for it. Let's get back to this. We have a lot to cover. This market's still going. NVIDIA's now 114, Tesla 285. Yeah,
we're just that move from yesterday.
No, we're basically coming right back into, no, not the whole move. We're reverting maybe the afternoon move for a lot of these stocks. But yeah, great bounce. We'll see if we can actually sustain it. I never want to overreact to like an 830 economic number bounce.
Lots of people were talking yesterday, or there was hints of the fact that we may or may not get interest rate movement here going into the next couple of meetings. It's worth noting on this number this morning, the non-farm payroll number. This goes out to June, so that's actually a look at June. I took a look at this late in the day yesterday. This was actually over 60%. So this would represent a quarter point cut going out to June. Now we're just 55.2% chance that that's going to happen. So back to 42 on the hold for June. May, still nothing. 94% chance that they're going to do nothing this month.
And we got that weaker preliminary GDP print, Brendan.
Yeah.
So it's like if you were looking for the economy to slow down, you got one thing on your side. We'll have to wait to see how inflation is looking. I mean, widely expected that it was supposed to be, this kind of pull forward effect of inflation as people buy goods ahead of the increase in price of tariffs. But that hasn't happened. We'll talk about that on the Apple summary on the rundown. But Tim Cook saying he saw no evidence of people buying iPhones en masse ahead of the price raise. So I'm not saying that doesn't apply to other parts of the economy, Brendo, but you haven't quite seen that being talked about by companies yet.
Yeah, it's worth noting yields are kind of flat at this point this morning. Trump administration coming out late in the day yesterday essentially saying the 2-year being above the Fed funds rate is a clear sign that we should be lower on the Fed funds rate. So if you go out to the 10-year as well, we're still, it hasn't really done anything for the past couple of weeks. But interesting time. Eli Lilly back to the upside, just hearing day highs there, 814. Coming into play there for LLY. There's Apple trying to roll over here to the downside, as you were saying. I mean, we sat here yesterday and kind of said, no pressure, Tim Cook. Yeah, tough situation, really tough situation.
Yeah, he didn't guide.
No.
I mean, he said he can't see anything after June, and that's like a month away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of what we expected. You and I talked about this yesterday. Like, how could he guide? How does he know what to expect? We don't have a deal with China. He's trying to do the best he can to organize his company by making sure all the U.S.-bound phones are coming from India for the foreseeable future. China going to supply the rest of the world. But that's a temporary thing. You don't see that being a sustainable situation going forward. So, I mean, I don't blame the guy, but the company has to be organized in a certain way.
As we saw, Amazon already back to green and then some, 0.3 to the upside here. On the flip side, Apple very much not the case. Still 3.2% here. We are trying to hold, though, guys, above that low from aftermarket yesterday.
Yeah, and unfortunately, for Apple, like everyone, the eyes were going to be on the services number to begin with. And so when that was the thing that missed, not a very good look. And I think not guiding is... it's just honest, which I like. I mean, if you, in this kind of an uncertain situation, how are you supposed to project to the end of the year? You don't know. And it's a tremendous difference for them. Sure, they can be pulling 50% from India right now, and that temporarily has gotten them through a little bit of this. But if tariffs continue at the rate that they are, well, there's going to be some shakeout, right? Like, you can't make these kinds of big changes without having a bit of an effect for the longer term, or at least a longer run than I think a lot of people are anticipating if this gets drawn out. Like any kind of manufacturing shift, it takes a very long time for them. And in the meanwhile, your margins are going to slide. Services number was a big disappointment. And what's actually a little bit, it's not jarring's not the right word. The bounce that you're seeing right now, here, let's just throw up the NASDAQ. The bounce that you're seeing right now, breaking out overnight highs into the yesterday afternoon. Remember we dropped yesterday in the afternoon? Well, that was at the 20,050 here on the NASDAQ. So for you to do that and to have the reaction of Apple not even get back to the post-market low, not even get back to like the 207.5 where it bounced into very early in the morning. Like it's putting in lower highs to the extent that you can here in the pre-market and looking incredibly weak. Yeah, it's hard not to look at Apple and say, hey, we got some relative weakness in it. Distinctly, all of the Mag 7 need to be put in their own little bucket and judged accordingly. This is no longer some group that you just buy all together and they all go up together, they all go down together. It's just not that anymore. Microsoft separated themselves earlier to a positive degree and to the downside here. I think Apple is at least in for a bit of a rough patch, barring a deal getting struck in the next short little while, which could happen. That's the fun part about it. If a deal gets struck and this thing is back at 220.
Yeah, I think that's well within range. I'm kind of looking at a higher time frame here on Apple. And yeah, at the beginning of the month in April, we did get that aggressive selling, not only on Apple, but with the rest of the market a little bit as well. You can see that nice expanding volume, but look at that strong bid. The highest volume bar comes in here on what is, I think that's that April 9th. We got that crazy bid up, and you can see that we've pretty much reverted a decent chunk of last month's move there by the end of May. And yeah, coming into earnings today, we're still kind of within range and still technically making higher highs and higher lows off of that high volume bottom there. And yeah, I think those 200s are well within range if we can get some sort of catalyst, some volume to push us up into there. But yeah, going to be interesting today. Going back down to a shorter time frame, we can see that bit of a gap down or sell off on the earnings report. We attempt to push a little bit higher above 210s. But something interesting, Neil, that I'm noticing here we go. A lot of lines. Oh, okay, no, not that many lines. Just one line here. That's the anchored off of the earnings reaction there. You can see in the pre-market session, we're holding it quite well. That's sitting at 207.31 right now on Apple, and that's just around prior week's consolidation low as well. So interesting levels here on Apple. Definitely going to be one on watch. One of the top names on watch for sure. But again, opportunity. I'm realizing in this market can lie in places where you least expect it. So a lot of eyes definitely going to be on Apple, but we're yet to see if a trade for me specifically is going to set up on Apple or not. But that anchored VWAP, I'm definitely going to be watching. Some of these pre-market levels I'm definitely going to be watching as well. Exciting stuff here. Doing some decent relative volume as well. We got 5 times consistent for the past couple of hours here in the pre-market on Apple. So that's what I'll be watching on.
Boys.
Not all bad so far this morning. There is a ton of strength coming out of China. First of the month, or second of the month. We did get Chinese EV deliveries as well that came through. So huge uptick numbers here in the past month for all of these. XPeng, first of all, leading the way once again, 273% increase on the year-over-year number. Just about to take out the highs here. This thing's up better part of 7%. To start things off here this morning. But I mean, they all were decent. Even Li Auto, haven't talked about that one for a while, 31.6% to the upside on a beat for deliveries. XPeng and then NIO, 53% increase, only 23,900, but still 53% to the upside for all three.
Yeah, Brendo, not a bad look so far. And XPeng, can you believe this? They've delivered 130,000 vehicles so far this year.
Yeah.
We haven't even hit the 6 months, so we're not even at the halfway point. That's a fantastic look, and that's a 300% increase from the vehicles that they delivered this time last year. As Brendo mentioned, Neil reported as well, about a little bit shy of 24,000 cars. That's a 53% bump there. Brendo, likewise with Li Auto, faring second best here, about almost 34,000 vehicles, a 32% bump from year-ago deliveries. Li has delivered a little bit less than XPeng. So XPeng, 129,053 cars. Li right behind them, 126,803 cars so far in the first 4 months of this year. That's a 20% bump year over year. NIO, third best here, Brendo, about a little bit less than 66,000 cars total delivered this year. Should mention, Li Auto's mix, so they're not purely electrical.
Yep.
They have purely electrical vehicles lined up now, but they mix usually with not hybrids. It's just this gas engine that recharges the battery, doesn't power the car.
Yeah, worth noting, definitely. I mean, you pair that then with all of this optimism around a potential trade deal, and I mean, definitely worth watching these at least today. Going forward, just hearing as well, Amazon. Now a full percent to the upside here, guys, this morning for Amazon.
There's no, yeah, the market is not really slowing down. Like the move up is not, it's just not abating. Look, in terms of the Chinese automakers, there's something in common with NIO, XPeng, look a little bit similar there, Li Auto. When it eventually loads up here, it'll be a little bit more timid, and they're all kind of cresting towards the 50 period. Li's a bit different. I know this is Sharif's baby. It's a little bit different in the manner in which it's going into the 50. It's trend up. It just recently broke. It just feels a little bit stronger going into that resistance. Whereas when I pull up NIO, when you look at that, it's we've already failed here at 420, which is where that 50 period sits. That was a big supply zone before. So it's punched through and failed, and now you've got lower high resistance, just a little bit weaker. I feel as if I was going to fade something, it would be NIO more than the others. Li Auto's the only one that stands out. I can't say that these are on the trade plan today. They're not. I mean, if I'm looking at a Chinese name, it's almost always going to be Alibaba, sometimes an NIO. But it's worth noting, at least when you look at the three, Li's profile setting up a little bit better when you look at that chart. But to Brendan's point about the move, Amazon's not just up 1%. It's been a brick wall. I might have to add this one. You never really know how the numbers are going to play out, but this one I might need to add to the list because it's a pretty clean breakout through 193. It's the 50 period as well. It's a big resistance. You want to make sure that there's buyers at the open above a level like that because it could easily be a trap, but that's a big, big resistance level that we just flew into on Amazon. You want to see buyers out above. and not just be buying a top into huge overhead resistance on a Friday. That gets you into a world of trouble a lot of times. So yeah, it's a big one for sure on Amazon, big level coming in. Apple's still not doing too much, and this NASDAQ 1% to the upside. I'm going to pull the Qs up. This is the overnight market on Blue Ocean, right? So you had like 484 was a biggie. I always like these. I don't know if you've been doing this, Obi, but every single time, like now it's part of my morning routine. If something's in the trade plan, I'm pulling it up to see what the levels were. If it was earnings or something I would trade in the aftermarket, I'm pulling it up to see where the levels are in the overnight market, because you can look and say afternoon level on the Qs was 485, but 484, sorry, afternoon was 485, but 484 was where the break happened, resistance was overnight. And I think if you can hold on to that, the overnight levels, that becomes pretty important. That's where 113 for me on NVIDIA is going to start to come from. So that actually lines up with VWAP on the Qs, that 484, the overnight lows. But remember, we haven't busted out that top. I don't want to get caught in a trap here.
Yeah, here comes a 190, 193 on Amazon. So I'm just keeping an eye on that. Yeah, definitely a little bit of a breakout here. But going back to some of those EV tickers, again, I'm gonna mention this again. Whenever I am looking at some tickers that do trade as ADRs, like Li Auto and NEO or XPEV or anything like that, even BABA, PDD, I'm always looking at the Hang Seng index as well. You can see that the index has been trending up as well, so a bit of a gap up just there. So not just EVs are up, the whole market in the Hang Seng is up as well. You can see a lot of tickers doing a bit of a gap up as well. So NEO coming back into prior days range. I think that selling that came in right off of the bat, 410s, that could be interesting. Pre-market highs currently sitting at 409, so just a penny away from yesterday's high. So it should be interesting if that does come in during the day. I'm probably not going to be looking at it too closely, but again, very valid in terms of worthy of a watch. I think Li Auto was another one. That one is bidding up a little bit stronger here and a little bit past prior day's highs all the way back into April 1st high. So again, this could be a little more interesting, Neil, as this is testing the level where sellers came in at the beginning of April.
Yeah, that's the spicy.
So Li Auto definitely a little bit maybe more relatively stronger than some of these other names. So definitely going to keep this one a little bit closer give this one a little bit of a closer of a watch. But yeah. Gapping up on deliveries, some of these EVs. Again, lots of earnings names, so I don't know if I'm going to be focused specifically on EVs, but still valid tickers as they are doing relative volume, and it has the sector or the market has direction as well. You can see that it's uptrending, so maybe we do catch a bid. Let's see if we get that tailwind from our markets here as well on the NASDAQ and the ES.
Yes, sir. And let's see what the analyst might be saying with that plethora of earnings that we just had with the Dara.
Analysts are saying a little bit more on earnings when we get to the downgrade side of things, but we do have an earnings name to start the upgrades. We have Reddit here up about 5%. Bernstein giving this one the nod. AutoZone with an Oppenheimer upgrade and a $4,600 price target. Then we have A10 with a Craig Hallam upgrade. And last but not least, CG Oncology getting an upgrade from JP Morgan Chase. Now in the downgrades, this one we get really earnings heavy. Apple here getting a downgrade from Rosenblatt. They are not the only agency that downgraded Apple after that report. We know there are some concerns from CEO Tim Cook about tariff impacts. Airbnb next on the list here with a Wedbush downgrade. Then we have Block, or XYZ as it's now trading under. This one's been discussed a lot, down 20% on earnings and getting a Wells Fargo downgrade to boot. Then we have HubSpot getting a downgrade from BMO Capital Markets. They report next week. Back to you.
And I share the sentiment with you. Still in love, will travel. Great name. Why has AutoZone not done a split? That's a great question. What's hilarious is I can hear like Wayne's doing a call with some of the remote traders. He said good question at the same time to something else. Nick W, we'll get to the super chat in a second. Let me just, I wanted to address Reddit because look, when we'll get to all the earnings, it was a really good report for Reddit and its price action. Like you see the market screaming higher. Like we just made another fresh high on the NASDAQ and Reddit's just been trending down after gapping up giving up a lot of the gap overnight and then trending in to give up now the entirety of the breakout, not the whole gap, because at 118 would be that support. Like Open and I were just talking about this. Like it's not looking all that good. The 200 period sits out here just underneath 117. That's your next support level. If it loses that, it's really unfortunate. Like it was a good print. It's hard not to be looking at this one for short. Like sometimes the market tells you something. You can do all the charting overnight and reaction stuff and read all the reports you want, but then you get an economic number which booms the market, and a stock which was running is suddenly looking relatively weak. And well, you didn't have that information before. Now we do have that information. If this loses 117 today, I think it's in some trouble, which is, it can be baffling all you want it to be, but price action tends not to lie. First, it has to hold on to the 50 period at that 121. But yeah, have eyeballs on that. Nick W., appreciate the super chat in here. Would you mind giving thoughts on, what do you want, Teradyne? Whoops, where'd it go? There we go, click it again. Teradyne for long swing, you're looking for a move to 85.90 in the next couple of months, 1 billion buyback. We like buybacks, that's always a good thing for stock price. You can pontificate how you feel about it overall. But I know, see Nick, I know your game. It's a pure trend break. Right, like you're playing this as it's forming a bit of a wedge and making a trend break. You want it before it breaks out 80, and you want to play it into that prior resistance. I can't necessarily, like I can't disagree with it. All I will say is usually when I'm looking for like swing breakouts, I'm more of I love it when it bottoms at a level where the 50 period has caught up with the move and it has the ability to get back above. Like an example a couple of years ago was, like I think, yeah, it was when like BABA flattened out like that, like you had the downtrend and then BABA flattened out and then you make that kind of a break, and Snow did something like that too. Load. Yeah, Snow had a very similar move. Like it flattened out and then it was able to catch up with the 50 period. Then you get the higher low and you get a tighter breakout. That's generally what I like. So it happens. Like you end up missing some moves because you're trying to get a lot more confluence, but I just find it's a higher percentage play. But yeah, I see what you're going with Teradyne there. Not a bad look, but Reddit, disappointing. Very disappointing, that reaction we're seeing.
Yeah, out of that list of upgrades and downgrades, I'm going to have XYZ on watch. I was telling Neil, how could I have missed this one? I have so many names, and definitely this one was not on the block. When it came to the morning watch list. But interesting price action, that's okay. We can come up with a plan relatively quickly and look at some prior levels as well. With a bit of a downgrade coming in today on XYZ as well as that earnings report that gave us a bit of a gap down. Strong sell-off. We're consolidating near the lows here as well. Nice little continuation off the 4 a.m. print. That's interesting. So I was kind of looking at this after hours action here. And then you can see that right off of the open, straight slam, and now we're consolidating underneath that level. So going to a higher time frame here, going up just to a 3-hour chart, you can see that prior low sitting right in and around that 46 mark. We're trading below that. You go even further back. Oh boy, what a beautiful hold of this prior anchored. Neil, see, this is why I got to zoom back and look at those prior anchors. Look at that, beautiful. Happens to be a place of supply, and then earnings comes in. Guess what happens with that supply? Straight into the bid, taking out a whole month worth of price action there. So maybe on its way, poised for a test of that 38.85 prior low, all the way from 2023 in November. That's where that next level of support kind of comes in here, and you can see that was in and around earnings as well. So it seems like earnings volume on this ticker really tends to give it some direction. We're getting some continuation, back-to-back earnings sell-offs. We're getting that continuation. I'm going to be looking to see if this ticker holds below that prior low right here at that 46 off of the open, holding underneath anchored as well. Maybe we do get a pop into anchored. That's sitting at 47.60. But yeah, out of all those upgrades and downgrades, I think XYZ is definitely one to watch out for. Yeah, let's see if we can kind of find some opportunity on this one today.
All right, a ton to talk about this morning. I was just noticing this is moving. Tesla with a big move here to 284, 285, bit of a resistance point over the past couple of days, actually, pre-market yesterday and then through the midday. So we'll keep an eye on that. But Tesla to the upside here. Let's have a look at the market.
All right, guys, 56.21. That's where we closed out above on the ES June contract yesterday. We're well above that level. We are knocking on the door, guys, of 5,700. So the market continues to recover. We're above these technical areas of resistance. I'm talking about these area lows back in early March and late March as well, that 5,500, 5,550 level. So here's the deal. We're going to use 56.25 as our support level if we sell off. Until we take 5,700, we're going to use it as a resistance, Brendo.
Makes sense. Tesla might be up on those Chinese EV numbers as well. Huge market for them, obviously. That's the link to the watch list. If you haven't done so, make sure you grab that. Comes out every single morning before we come on at 8:30. Everything you need to know that's moving around in the pre-market and why, sent right to your inbox. And hey, it's free, so why not? We'll keep an eye on Tesla for the time being, but if you're just joining again, Xpeng, Neo, Li Auto, all with better than expected delivery numbers, so maybe Tesla getting a bump from that. Here's, speaking of a bump, Apple trying to get going here. 2.7 now, well off the lows. It was more than 3.5 at the bottom. I mean, there's a lot of things you can point to on this quarter at the end of the day. I mean, you and I were just saying, like, this could be a lot worse.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was expecting worse. Got to tell you the truth. Personally, I was ready for it. So let's talk about how they did. EPS, beat. $1.65. The street wanted $1.63. Revenue, we're closing in on that $100 billion. $95.4 billion on the quarter. They beat by almost $1 billion. 94.66 was what the street wanted. Net income, their take-home money, up almost $1 billion as well. 24.78 billion, up from 23.64. So that's over $1 billion actually. Gross margins in line, Brendo, with expectations, 47.1. Not a bad look there. Let's talk about their segments, how they did in every different segment. iPhone revenue beating as well by about $1 billion. 46.84, the street wanted 45.84. Mac revenue, 7.95, the street was looking for 7.77. iPad revenue, they usually miss here. This one was interesting for me. 6.4 billion, the street wanted 6.2. Now this is where they missed. Neil brought this to your attention earlier. Wearables, home accessories, that missed 7.52. The street was looking for about 8 billion. And services, this is the one I wanted to see beat because this is where they have over 80% gross margins. 26.65 billion they printed, or sorry, that's what they printed. The street was looking for 26.7. So a bit of a miss there, but still up year over year. Now the tariff impact, this is what we want to hear about. Limited March impact, apparently due to the supply chain optimization. That means that they were able to get phones in from India. We know about that air shipping there. The tariffs though, Brendo, they're going to add about $900 million in cost to their June quarter, and now Apple is sourcing about 50% of US-bound iPhones from India and much of the rest from Vietnam, still manufacturing the majority of, though, the iPhones in China, but that's going to be supplying the rest of the world.
Remember we were saying when this all started, it was, I think it was 36 million or something like that, US sold iPhones last year came from China, so they have a big hole to fill there when it comes to that if demand remains where it is. Back to the upside we go right now, though, guys, for Apple.
Dragged up finally, like you wanted to see it. Like actually, you know, when we were looking earlier, it was more in line with Reddit's fate, where you have the gap back into the downside overnight, and it wasn't participating in this rally. Hopefully, you're going to show that SPY chart, right, Obi?
Which one?
The SPY you were just looking at?
That's proprietary.
Okay, fine. Suffice to say this.
No, I'm joking. I'll show it. It doesn't really matter. It's just a line on a chart.
I didn't want to double talk, but like just the SPY's breaking out some pretty key levels. We all know about the 550, and we're breaking through some pretty key levels to the upside. So when that's happening, I always like to have things in buckets. Like, what are the things that are breaking with it? And yes, Apple is over 207 now, or 207.5, and it's definitely making a move. It's a little bit distinctly different, right? Like, it's still under the 50 period. It's underneath that, what do we call, I don't know what we're calling this bounce. The Liberation Day bounce, we would just call it that. The 212 resistance that got put in, we're like $5 below it. Apple can get to that without getting green today. So it doesn't change too much for me in terms of like looking for shorts. It just might mean, well, where are you going to do it? Because it can get up to that big 212 level and not be green. So I'm not touching, I don't want this one to the long side. I want to favor and put it in the bucket of shorts. Prior low is always a place of action where I would look at it at that 209. But the market looks strong right now. So I think you want to put things like that on the back burner, that if we do end up losing this bid, well, Apple's already shown you its weakness.
Yeah, I think again, we came back up into its anchored. So yeah, a little bit of strength coming in before the open. But yeah, I'm expecting that anchor to kind of come in and give us some information. And as of right now, it seems like we're kind of chopping, consolidating in and around that 207 mark. Pre-market high is just around the corner there, 208. So yeah, I'll be watching that. But interesting enough, I think that this little pop could be a piece of information because that earnings reaction, strong flush. This was the first bid that kind of came in, right? The first bid that comes in takes us all the way up to 210s and some change. So that might be an interesting price as well. You can see that confluences with yesterday's kind of opening range, opening session kind of pullback where the bid comes in and holds pretty much for the rest of the day. And surprising enough, if you go back and look at some of the Mag 7 yesterday, you'll see that at the end of the day, there was some strong quadunks going into the close. Apple didn't really do that until its earnings report. Apple held its own pretty well there and then sold off pretty aggressively off the earnings report there. But yeah, with the futures kind of taking a bit of a bid back up, I'm curious to know whether or not Apple will come into some of these levels like 208 and that 210, maybe for a bit of a reversion. Relative strength, it has been observed on this ticker over the past few weeks, while the rest of the market's kind of been a lot more volatile. I'm curious to know whether or not the beta comes in today on Apple and we follow the market a little bit closer. But being earnings day one, can't really trust that too much. It could very well do its own thing as well, but anchored could be something interesting. And we also have some ranges defined from yesterday. So we'll see what Apple has in store. But yeah, earnings didn't really do a deep dive on their earnings report. I don't really look at that stuff too closely because I do believe that the price action literally speaks in volume. So I don't really need to look too far to find some opportunities in terms of trading on Apple today. But yeah, let's see what the price action holds for us.
Amazon was a miss, but who cares? It's up 1% at this point. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about here. I was just counting up some of these analyst moves as well. There's probably 10 or 11 at this point with, for the most part, price target increases and positive tones to them. So yeah, already 1+% here for Amazon.
Not bad, Brendo.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday was dropping heavily on the market recap show with Sean. Guys, here's how they did. $1.59 on EPS, easily beating that $1.36 the street wanted. Revenue, $155.67 billion, ahead of that $155.04 the street was expecting. Here's the miss though. AWS, Amazon Web Service, missed again. $29.3 billion. The street was looking for $29.42. And I want to point out, Google Cloud has now missed. Azure is the only one that didn't miss on the quarter. AWS and Google Cloud missed. Azure, the standalone that has not missed on earnings. Advertising revenue for Amazon, almost $14 billion ahead of that 13.74 the street was looking for. The guidance, here's what we're talking about now for the Q2 outlook. $159 to $164 billion in sales. The street was looking for 160.9, so ahead there. Operating income, this one missed as well. They're guiding 13 to 17.5 billion. The street was looking for 17 2/3. Now the tariffs, how are they going to act? So the tariffs, the 145% here on some Chinese goods, they say are a major risk to the retail and the marketplace business. They say some third-party sellers have already raised prices and cut ad spending, and they're considering, but they rejected, as we reported to you guys, listing tariff costs on product pages, which was limited to their discount storefront. Right. Now, how did they do in their segment? AWS revenue, Brendo, rose 17%, but missed expectations. That's a third straight quarter of AWS underperforming expectations. Their advertising revenue, though, came in stronger than expected, 19% year-over-year increase and beating estimates. And the net income, Brendo, this is what they took home, $17.13 billion in profit.
You know, everyone was still reporting, even yesterday, that tariff listing that they were talking about was going to be across the board. It's great that you made the point of saying it was on the discount site only.
Yes.
Because no one else is talking about that.
No. It was misreported.
Yeah, and still is being probably. But who cares, guys, about a miss?
Miss Schmiss. AWS, 3 straight. Come on, it doesn't matter. It should matter. No, it should matter. 31 times earnings, forward PE should matter. Doesn't. Like it's still pretty expensive. It's one of the reasons why the dip buy, I liked a couple of the names, maybe even a little bit better than Amazon. Like when it came to Meta, it was just more about the cost. But at the end of the day, ball doesn't lie. Whoops, I wanted to start with the death cross. Death cross here. Whoops. So anybody that's in the death cross short in this name, well, maybe if they're not already shaking in their boots and scared, then it's 193 that would have them concerned. And right now you're running right into that 193. It's a 50 period. It's a Liberation Day high, or bounce high, I suppose you want to call it. So once you're through that, you're in a world of, you're just sort of in a world of hurt anyone that took the shorts when this made the death cross on the daily. That 50 period cross in the 200 happened all over the place. So it's not like it's only Amazon this occurred on. It happened on a wath of stocks in the last couple of weeks. But this one, 193 breaks, and they're toast. So it's the only, for me, I didn't even write another number down on my iPad for Amazon because that's basically it. If it holds the open range over 193, I think they're short covering and you get a trend up. If it doesn't, underneath that number, it's too big of a supply zone not to look for deep dip buys, which you're not getting right now. You're just too far away. So yeah, the 193 is the big level, and we're probably testing that right away at the open.
Yeah, we just kind of talked about this. It's like, okay, well, earnings report comes out as whatever, sells off initially, but bids right back up. So does it really matter? I have no idea. But what does matter right now, Neil, is a little bit of this prior anchored that I have here. So I'm going to go to a higher time frame. Here again, we're going back to the sell-off that came in at the beginning of April. So again, off of events that are somewhat significant, right? So that's anchored to a little bit of that intraday action there coming in. You can see that it tries to respect it. We trade below it, but take a look at this. Now this is where I really start to like some of these anchors, is where it actually shows you that, okay, well, you have a line on the chart. It could be very arbitrary. It doesn't really mean anything unless the price actually starts to interact with it in a meaningful way. You can see that here at the beginning on April 23rd, holding that level as a little bit of a bid. You can see how strong that bid is coming in off of this area. Once again, a strong flush right into the open, and then right there, Wednesday. That's the Wednesday of this week. Strong bid coming into the close once again. And then yesterday we got that strong quadroon. Guess where it finds another bid, and then earnings reaction can't even take it any lower than that, and that bid shows up. So it is supply and demand much bigger than fundamentals, Neil. I think the chart definitely speaks for itself here when I say that there is definitely a little bit of demand here in some of these areas. And now we're breaking out of earnings reaction high. So literally on my Amazon, after seeing this shake and bake, my Amazon plan for today, I can read it out. I said earnings day one, gapping down, look for the gap give, look for the anchored VWAP hold, 178 is a level, look for structure holds, but reaction range breakout, wait for these levels to come into play to give you direction. And as of right now, that range high, reaction range high, is definitely coming in on Amazon, testing 193. So it should be interesting off of the open. If we can sustain above that reaction high and catch a bid maybe on top of VWAP, that could be interesting as well for a bit of continuation. But I have no idea what this market's going to do. But interesting to me is the type of relative volume this thing is doing. So let's take a quick look. You can see that these bars right here, 5-period relative volume on Amazon, a bit of increasing volume going into 8 a.m. about 4 times. So I have about 4 times, 3.5 right now in this current 30-minute candle on Amazon. So strength is basically what that chart is telling me in the pre-market for Amazon. Even though we sold off on earnings, we've reverted 100% of that move. What a beautiful reversion that was. Let's see if that reversion gives us some continuation off the open.
We're just talking about, do you want to show that?
Yeah,
I might as well.
Andre.
Uber's up here this morning, possibly on this. I mean, we've been touching on the Tesla Robotaxi story coming up in June over in Austin. Now Uber stepping up as well.
Yeah, Brendo, they're teaming up with this May Mobility to launch autonomous vehicles in Arlington starting in 2025. They're going to be American-made, Brendo, hybrid Toyota Sienna vehicles, and definitely increased competition here with Waymo and Tesla.
Toyota Sienna is a minivan?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yep. It is, yeah.
Okay.
It is a minivan.
All right, let's talk about Block, Square, XYZ, whatever you want to call it. Jack Dorsey, pretty bullish, I guess, on the mining chip delivery in the second half of 2025. Sees a huge opportunity as China tariffs disruption looms. But, I mean, overall, this is an absolute disaster of an earnings report. There wasn't even an uptick.
Yeah, sorry, just 1 second. Just loading up my notes over here for that. There we go, I got it.
We are bouncing a little bit here for XYZ right now, but it's still 20%.
Yeah, it's a really good, it's a really tough look here, Brendo. Let's talk about how they did. EPS, they printed 56 pennies. No comp here for the EPS. Revenue, they missed easily there. 5.77 billion. The street was looking for 6.2, and revenue, guys, didn't increase. It's actually down 3% year over year. So is gross profit, 2.29 billion. The street was looking for 2.32. Gross profit did increase 9% year over year, and gross payment volume, 56.8 billion. That missed the $58 billion expectations. The guidance was also soft. Q2 gross profit, 2.45 billion. The street was looking for 2.54. Full year 2025 gross profit supposed to be 10.2. The street was expecting. They guided only 9.96. They cited dynamic macro conditions and tariff-related economic uncertainty following the tariffs. Here's how their segment was. Their Cash App gross profit up 10% year over year, printed 1.38 billion on that, but also missed expectations. And then their Square gross, I don't know what GPV stands for, but is up 18%. Their Bitcoin holdings up to 2.3 billion now. The first mining chips expected this half of 2025. And CEO Jack Dorsey saying they're focusing on expanding banking service while maintaining the Cash App's growth. And the CFO also commented that Q1, believe it or not, was Block's most profitable ever, despite the revenue miss, which he says shows operating discipline. We'll have to see how the market takes that.
I mean, I would say it disagrees at this
Likewise.
point, but we'll see. A lot of time left in the day, guys, for Block.
There is plenty of time left, Brennan. But unfortunately, and look, ball's not lying right now for Block. And Venmo doubled up their growth. Venmo kicking their butt right now. So Cash App growth was half of what Venmo's was. So yay, PayPal. But ultimately, when you look at I had to pull up a weekly chart just so you can see this prior low down at 38, because we're essentially at what is the 52-week low. Check that. We're breaking the 52-week low as we speak. So we're breaking the 52-week low, unfortunately, here on XYZ. Whatever, we're Canadian, so Z, I'm supposed to say. But right now, it's kind of trying to bounce higher. I was asked in the chat, do I like this thing for an SSR bounce? When you're down 21%, that's always part of the playbook. But because you're already at or just beneath that 52-week low, the only way I can play is the first level has to hold. Right? Like if you're breaking, if I think 46 is that big level because it is on the daily, well, if you don't hold 45, then an SSR bounce, like what am I waiting for, 40, 38, something along those lines, and I'm trying to work into short. If we break the low, I'm looking for break that low, I'm looking for VWAP shorts and trend continuation. But yes, SSR bounce play if it can revert right away off the 45, and then you go into plan of action, which would be play at least until the 49 quarter to 50 move. Gets up in there, I'm looking to continue short. This, no matter what the market does, this is not a forever long on any bounce. Not after that Q, and not with so many other appealing things, I think, for a lot of other traders to dig their teeth into.
Yeah, I think I just looked at the short float. Nothing too crazy there, just shy of around 3%. But yeah, that 46.30, we kind of looked at that level from prior. You can see that 46 level low from the beginning of April as well. So that's going to be interesting to me. We're holding underneath that consolidation, but yeah, anchored all the way up at 47 halves like we talked about before. So let's see if we can come back up into some of these areas. This strong flush coming in off the 4 a.m. candle here, off of that 47.48 level as well. So going to be interesting. And even more interesting is this is a bit of a flat bottom here happening on top of that 45. So we have a pretty decent range in this pre-market session on XYZ here. So let's see if this one kind of comes in off of the open. Range defined, will it give us the action that we're looking for? And I agree with Neil here. I'm also potentially looking for that continuation, but if that SSR mechanic comes in and buyers come in real strong off of the open, I think that anchored VWAP or VWAP itself can definitely give us some direction off of the open. Currently though, in the pre-market session, we're just orbiting around the session VWAP as well. So that's interesting, increasing volume into the open. So gonna keep it on watching some of that after hours low as well, in and around that 47 level as well. So that's confluencing with that anchored VWAP right now as well. So a lot of confluence, but let's see if it has any opportunity on XYZ today. So.
All right, let's get through a couple more here. Reddit, I mean, it was a positive report. We're kind of leaking downside right now. I was just going through a couple of analyst notes on this. It came down to the call. I didn't actually see what was said on the call, but the market clearly didn't like it. We're back to, I mean, it's still 4%, but definitely nowhere near where it was.
Yeah, it was a good beat, but the economic concerns are cooling the expectations here, Brendo. Let's talk about how they did. This was an easy beat here for profitability. EPS, 13 pennies. The street was looking for 2. Revenue, another easy beat there, 392 million in revenue. The street was looking for 370, and that's a 61% increase, guys, year over year for revenue. Net income, they printed, actually made money this year, 26.2 million. Compare that to last year when they lost more than $500 million. So not only are they profitable, but they're not bleeding money anymore. Q2 outlook, that also met expectations. They're guiding 410 to 430 million dollars in revenue. The street was looking for 396, so an easy beat there. The reaction obviously initially soared about 19%, but gains did pull back after the executives flagged economic uncertainty and the search ecosystem disruption. They're talking about Google's algorithm change and the rise of LLMs like ChatGPT and Perplexity, possibly putting a damper on their users. Now, here's how they did. Their global daily active users, 108.1 million. That's up 31% year over year and ahead of expectations. And then you can kind of see the variance of that, the logged in daily active users, logged out daily active users, and Reddit answers, all of which, Brendo, were up year over year and met expectations.
What the hell is a logged out daily active user?
I don't know. Maybe person who doesn't have an account but goes on the site.
Oh, okay,
gotcha.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was thinking, like, how can they count that if someone's not even on it?
Good point.
Anyway, thoughts here, guys. Reddit.
37s off the open.
Always talking trades here, because it's one of those, like, we love talking trades, and we're just talking a little bit about a trade at the morning yesterday. So you should, I don't know, like maybe it's not a thing that's well known, but yeah, I actually would consider myself, there was a good period where I was a logged off Reddit user. Like I'd go there, it was, you know, years ago, I'd go in, logged in all the time and whatnot, and I was a little more active on it. And then for at least a couple of years, I'd say, I would be just sort of casual, not logging in, just every once in a while. But now I'm back to being like a logged on user when I do. So it is a big deal. And I think the more that they get that engagement back where people are spending, you know, not just cursory time there to check something out, but spending a little bit more time, there's plenty of growth potential. I just hate what's happening with the price action today. You can't, there's nothing, you're not going to get me to like this gap up reversion and then market breaks out and it holds trend down. I just still want to, we said this before, I mean, 117 goes, I think it's in trouble, but I'm not punching something short after it drops $7 at the open. That seems like that would be insane to me, where you get that kind of a drop and you're just sort of hitting the short blindly if it's already fallen that far. No, I don't think that's the play whatsoever. And the look would be, look for a consolidation short, something along VWAP. That starts to set up going into that key 117. And then chart the 117 for maybe next week in case it doesn't break that down today. But I'm not bullish at all on this. I can tell you when I went to bed last night, I was, and a lot has changed. So, like, I actually woke up this morning thinking, hey, we're going to be talking all about Reddit long, and it's just not on. It's not on the cards today. Not with the price action we see. I guess maybe you could bounce off that 117, but that's so far away. Cross that bridge when you get there.
Yeah, that Reddit, I think, is definitely going to be on watch. Shake and bake, right? Yeah. We kind of reverted the move there, so kind of a similar story as Amazon, where we reverted their initial earnings reaction, now trading at the total opposite, well, closer to the undisturbed reference price from that earnings report, right? So it seems like that could be interesting. That little bottom right there is looking nice. 117.40s double bottom here on Reddit. That earnings reaction low, as well as that flush that came in. I don't know if this was also catalyst driven later on, maybe some guidance or something like that. No idea. But the price action is what I like here. That 117.5. Definitely standing out on Reddit. Let's see if we can get down there. Currently trading at 121s, holding that VWAP as well. I didn't put an anchored on this one just yet, but again, you know what? Let's try to put on one anchored here and then another one here. You can see, because again, I think, I don't know if I want to consider these two events just yet, but yeah, trading below both of those levels as of right now, as that VWAP, intraday session VWAP coming in at that 124.80. So just shy of 125s. We're making lower highs. Let's see if we can get down to that 117. If we can get there, then I think we might be poised for prior weeks, or this week's low right here, coming in at 108.53 here. So a little bit of a ways down to go. We've been trending up since about what is this, middle of last month-ish. It would seem Monday, April 21st. We've been catching a bit of a bid coming into the earnings report, and we did get a nice little push, but failure to follow through is what this one is looking like here. A little weak, giving back pretty much everything. But that 117.50 is definitely something I'm watching for.
Another one that was weak, but no longer. 2.5% here for Airbnb, still to the downside. But back higher we go. They did, long story short, they did forecast. It was weaker than expected, though, and also pointed to slower demand because of uncertainty.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we'll talk about why, especially on this side of the border anyway, where a lot of Canadians canceling plans to the United States. Here's how we did. EPS, 24 pennies. That was in line, met expectations there. Revenue as well beat, not by much, 2.27 billion. The street was looking for 2.26. Net income, though, did miss expectations and is markedly down year over year. 154 million. That's down from 264 million last year. Didn't really see the explanation as to why, what costs went up. Gross booking value also in line with expectations, about 24.5 billion there. And then the nights and experiences booked, 143.1 million. That's an increase of 8% year over year, but it does miss the expectations of 143.4, not by much again, but a miss nonetheless. Revenue forecast, as you mentioned, Brendo, missing there, the lower end of the range, 2.99 to 3.05. The street was looking for 3.02 billion, so we'll keep an eye on that. And here's where it kind of gets interesting. U.S. travel softened due to economic uncertainty. Canadians specifically are canceling U.S. travel more than any other location, which in Q1. But here's where it gets even more interesting. They're traveling to Mexico. Mexico travel up 27% year over year from Canadian guests in March. So I thought that was kind of an interesting look there. And then Latin America, Brendo, remains Airbnb's fastest growing region.
That's very interesting.
Yep.
The market overall continuing to lift pretty much everything at this point. A little bit of a pullback right now, but here we go, guys. Happy Friday.
It's a real happy Friday for Airbnb right now. Just very quickly, imbalances are pretty, I'd say, like relatively muted in here. I did see, oh, I saw, there it is. BBAI is a small sell for 180,000 and pretty much nothing else on there. In about 10 seconds or so, they're going to get some NASDAQ names probably populating. Look, Airbnb, I wrote down on my iPad, which, thank you, Apple, for autocorrecting Airbnb to abnormal. I just said there's a supply zone at 120 on the stock. Well, they're like underneath the 120. Well, you're above that. I was bearish going into the print, but this is one heck of a reversal. This is like the opposite of Reddit right now. So I think it's like an over 120 play right now on Airbnb. Huge spread, not touching that with a 10-foot pole at the open. It's a $1.30 spread right now on Airbnb. Wow. That's why you get this kind of a move, because the spread is completely insane. That is an absolute no trade zone until things settle down and come in. So Fubo is a small sell of 280,000. There's only one name that we haven't been able to cover that I want to get to that's part of the plan before I throw it back to Obi before the open. Robinhood. Robinhood back to the downside and looks like it wants to retest that 46 level. So bit of a day two earnings play for Hood. You saw that, I guess we're not going to get a chance to fade the top end of the range at 49 where it eventually got to, but that's something we're looking for a fade. And then 46 is your level of support. That's where we actually bounce. So a bit of a flat bottom break there for Robinhood. Less than 1 minute to go. Yeah, good for Airbnb. I thought they'd hold down. I didn't think it was going to be a good quarter for them, and the guide wouldn't be very good. But ultimately, hey, we're bouncing with the market here.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing some more of the same here with some of these initial earnings reactions getting reverted pretty much back to reference prices. But yeah, that spread, there's a lot of space in that spread. Some would say enough space that you could probably rent it out here on Airbnb. 122.44s trading right now, all the way above VWAP 119. So a bit of an extension away from VWAP there. Reference high 125.85 is there. Pre-market or after hour session lows coming in at 116. So that's kind of the range here. And let's throw up a quick anchored with about 9 seconds left. So that's where we're sitting above anchored as well. So going to be interesting off of the open. Let's see if Airbnb gives us some more opportunities. And 3, 2, and 1. There's the bell. Thank you, Adara. Here comes the open. I'm looking at, I already talked about what tickers I'm watching. I'm watching Apple and Amazon off of the open here. As of right now, some other earnings names as well. We shall see what is coming into play. Apple with a nice little flush. 205 is getting taken out. Let me pull up the tape here so we can watch it together. 205 is getting taken out. Tesla saying, Neil, yeah, Tesla with a bit of a bid. Amazon taking out lows. Apple taking out lows. Softy holding its own. Spider still trading at 564 halves currently, and TQs with the NASDAQ coming in at 58.60. So let's see, bit of a pullback here on the futures. It would seem 205s on Apple. I'm going to be patient. We're going to take out that low. 203.85 is after hours low here on Apple. 204.30 is trading right now. And Amazon giving it up as well. So I'm going to be a little bit patient, wait for some of these moves to set up. I'm watching a bunch of earnings names today. Let me know in the chat what you guys are watching. And I see that Neil is taking a quick look at Tesla. What's going on over there?
Well, you got to have, if you're looking for strength right now, at the open, it was on Tesla breaking out that 85, breaking from the 85 level. That's where the supply was in the afternoon, like 84 half to 85. So they're buying it up out in front in a big way here on TSLA. I don't know if we'll get back into 285. Okay, block might be coming in first. So I got to go to XYZ for a quick little second. What is going on with, we don't have locates on block. Okay, so I actually have to, we don't have, they're not free on block. Didn't get short there, but we broke that 45 almost instantly. I want to be able to get VWAP retracements on block as it goes. So I'll get to that in a quick little second. Didn't realize we didn't have them. Usually they're going to be free. NVIDIA also taking off as it tries to get to that 115. Remember, 115, monster resistance the last couple of days. It's also that Liberation Day resistance level. So go back into yesterday, go back to a couple of weeks ago. Big one incoming here on NVIDIA at the 115 level. But I got to go get some block locates.
Yeah, this Apple came right into that 203, so 202s and change trading right now here on Apple. So watching this one, strong Kwadunk off the open. So we're getting that continuation right off the bat here, 202 halves. Oh boy. Yeah, this market is holding consolidation in at the 20,000 level here on the NASDAQ, but Apple looking a little distinctly different, selling off pretty aggressively here. So let's wait, be patient, and see if it'll potentially come in here. 203's rebid here. So maybe back through there. I'm going to be a little bit patient here. Took a little bit of a push into that 203 rebid. Let's see if that can give us some continuation. VWAP, where is VWAP? I'm asking for VWAP right here. Where is it? I got to pull it up right here. Oh, 205 at 23s. Oh boy, so a couple points away from VWAP here. Let's see if we can get that reversion back in. 203's holding right now. Can you hold the quarter and bid to the half? There's the half. Doesn't really hold right away, kind of selling off, but going to continue watching this action. That half is double tapping right there. A little bit of a knock on that 203 halves as of right now on Apple. Let's see if the bid can come in. The market's looking to kind of blow its top here. 20,150s area-ish, but 203's coming right back here in on Apple. So maybe not just yet, but I'm gonna be patient. I know technically as of right now on the right side of the V, I'm gonna be patient and give it the right risk that it deserves to see if this follows through here on Apple. What do you got going on?
Well, we got those locates for XYZ. You always want to make sure that you're better prepared. At the end of the day, just because something is free the day before, you don't want to make sure you have the locates every single day for free. You should always check. They're ridiculously cheap. But Amazon is really losing the bid here. Well, if you like the Amazon long, 193, it went the other direction off the 193. A gap fill gives you 186 is where it topped out when it bounced yesterday, sorry, in the aftermarket. So that's where you got to look toward. Yeah, XYZ a little bit too slow, just a little bit slow in processing for myself. That's going to be on me. So when it pops back in to VWAP here, or at least close to it, don't get that fill above the 45 level. We'll try to pick it up. As long as you're under 46, that's a big flat bottom breaker on XYZ. All right, NVIDIA. NVIDIA's trying to hold on to this 115 level. Remember, that's a big resistance zone. You want to make sure the buyers are able to win the game here, and if they aren't, you can have a big time pullback in something like NVIDIA, at least right away off of that open. So yeah, there's a little bit of selling going into that 115. You're starting to come back in here. You don't want to be hitting longs into that overhead resistance at that 115 for a couple of days now. Seriously, block is just dropping like a rock right now.
Yeah,
what about Robinhood?
Oh boy, yeah. So this 203 is having a bit of a hold here, maybe some reserve, but we're testing pretty aggressively, and the market's taking a little bit of a pullback here. I'm watching the Nasdaq as well, but that 203 hold pretty interesting as of right now. Let's see if it can give us some follow through. No idea what it's going to do, right? This could crack very easily, and then we'll be out of the trade, and then we're going to be looking for the next trade. But as long as that 203 area roughly holds, I think I'm willing to give this one a bit of a shot here just to start off the day. 203s, there was a bit of a reserve here, but again, looking really, really weak. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll be patient. No idea what this is going to do. But again, if you guys are watching alongside this tape, this price action, pretty aggressive, but holding pretty well. You can see the Nasdaq kind of flushing here, and Apple holding that 203. That is showing me a little bit of strength. So what are the chances we revert to VWAP? I have no idea, but it's looking better and better as of right now. But that 203's got to hold. 204 is potentially coming in. So that 203.50's held. So let's see if we can print the next quarter at the 75s. We're holding that in a little bit right now. 936, only about 6 minutes off of the open. Oh boy, it really kind of struggling with that 203 halves as of right now here on Apple, and the market's pulling right
NVIDIA's
back
struggling too.
to 20,000. Oh boy, yeah, I don't really want that one right now. We're going to be patient. We'll let that one kind of work out. If the market's going to do that, I don't even need to let it come and hit my stop. I think that's more than enough information for me to be like, all right, well, I don't want to stand in the way of that. We tried to bounce. It gave me 70 pennies almost without ever looking back. And then it comes right back in, and the market's failing like this. Yeah, no thank you. I don't want to be in the long. Let's move on to the next trade. Where is the next opportunity? I know I definitely missed a few of them. The shorts are coming in real nice. That continuation on Apple coming in beautifully. Current day low, 202.16s, trading 202 halves. Right now, where is the next trade? XYZ still kind of chopping around there. A bit of a bounce there happening on XYZ. There's the low coming in here on Apple and the Nasdaq. Let's see that 20,000. Oh boy, Neil, that 20,000 might be a little bit of a magnet. It showed it to be a little bit yesterday, and it's doing more of the same today. So where is the next trade? That's what I'm asking you guys. So throw it up in the chat, because I know I'm watching a lot of names. I don't have to take it right away. I can be patient. Midday, end-of-day trades, continuations, VWAP holds, level holds, trend breaks, trend following, reversions, counter trending. We do it all.
That's a long
playbook
list. Well, it's a playbook. That's a way. I was going to say that's a big-ass list. It is. It's just a big-ass list. Which is what you should be looking for ultimately. So NVIDIA is not going to hold on to that bid above 115, so there's just no chance that I'm going to be into that to the long side unless it does. I just missed 45. Oh, it gave you some money fills up here on block through VWAP. They did like a wick shimmy above VWAP and then back underneath it. So still playing this one underneath the volume weighted average price. All right, NVIDIA is making a second push here at that 115 level. With the market falling into VWAP here, the market bounces off VWAP. I want NVIDIA long. It's over the 113, which is good, but I don't want to be taking this unless it's, if we're under 115, I want VWAP or 113. If we're over, then I get a consolidation over and I can give it to the local high. So that'll be the plan of action, as I believe we are going to Adara for some news.
Indeed, we are. A couple names to watch out for. If you are a small cap trader or you like these intensely active names that run sometimes, ASTS is probably one you remember. This is AST Space Mobile. Running up today, no news, but last night they did announce they're going to be providing a quarterly business update, which I'm guessing is some form of an earnings report. That's going to be coming through for ASTS on May 12th. Also, CART actually reporting earnings. This is an earnings move for CART, getting some volume. Not a lot here on this chart to speak for, but Instacart or Maple Bear on watch here. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
Maple Bear is one of the, it's just a weird name, but Instacart, I don't know if it made many people's lists, but there were a lot of earnings that we haven't covered. And I know in one quick second, I want to pull up BBAI for you guys. Promise we'd do that because I know Sean's away and he'd be looking at that one. Tesla false break for now, and you're getting some lower highs on Tesla. So this is exactly what I want to be concerned with. The market's trying to bounce higher, so my first thought is, are we going to be able to hold this 115? It's an absolute battle on NVIDIA at 115 right now. Like, it just cannot seem to break away from this price. There's a lot. It's Friday, obviously. It's going to be a big options level, so no questions asked. Like, you need to see some kind of direction one way or the other. Before I get to what happened? Kids is halted to the upside, and I promised BBAI we'd go to. So Kids, tap 880, halted 876. And then Big Bear AI, which we have not called up, I think, once this morning, making a very, very nice recovery after gapping down on earnings. Oh. So Big Bear AI, 350 looks like a pretty solid breakout level.
Yeah, so I rebid that Apple. That Apple came all the way back down to day low and didn't really quite break day low. So I was like, all right, well, I missed the 202 hold. So I'm just going to get right back in at 203 halves. Added into it a little bit there as we pushed that 75. That 75 last time we were there at 203.75s. We flushed. So this time when we were coming in with strength, I'm like, all right, what's the probability of hitting that VWAP now? We're coming right in about 20 pennies away from VWAP. So I'm going to start lightening up into that VWAP. So because the trade was reversion to VWAP, right? So now we've reverted to VWAP. Thank you, come again. 204.50s, here we come. VWAP, aggressive strength. So I will, I posted. Is it going to take me? And it took me, thank you. All right, where's the next trade? Took that reversion to VWAP. Let's move on. On Apple. So that was a nice little hold there. Didn't really get as aggressive as I should have, could have, would have, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm not going to ask for too much here. And Amazon, wow, look at that. Amazon coming in with a bid as well. Let's see what happens here in and around VWAP here on Apple. If I'm looking for that gap down continuation, where am I expecting people to potentially step in? Maybe VWAP. I think VWAP's a great place to look. If the action's going to be there, I think it's good to respect the action. If it's not there, then throw VWAP out the window because you don't really need it if it's not going to respect it. But if it's going to respect it, I do want to give it some consideration there. But right now, holding that VWAP 204.50s, we might get that consolidation and continuation. Day high, opening range high is all the way 206 half, so about 2 points away from that one there. So yeah, that's what I'm watching. Nothing else too much here. So nice little scalp to start off the day there. That 203 hold was coming in nice. We saw some relative strength there with that 203 hold. So oh boy, indeed, but didn't really reload. Again, that little bit of a difference makes a huge difference in terms of your results here. That's what I'm noticing. Literally yesterday, I was talking to Neil about this. Sitting in a short all day long. And if I had held 5 minutes longer, it would have literally been double or more in terms of performance. But performance in terms of decisions definitely could be a little bit better. Look at that VWAP coming in, sellers coming in off of VWAP. Right in.
By the way, there's a war happening, not just 115 on NVIDIA. Still VWAP holding on XYZ, so that's not really changing in here. It's at 45. I'm at 90s-ish. But Palantir 121. NVIDIA 115, see what's going on here. Like you're having, it's just there's buyers stepping up, couple of lots, I don't know, like a couple thousand lots are coming into Palantir every couple of seconds here when it gets above, and then they get smacked. And it's the same thing that happened in NVIDIA 115, and NVIDIA's losing the 115. So this is one that's actually trying to break out, which is what I thought NVIDIA could do with the 115 level. I needed to see that battle get won or lost. I'll go back to XYZ, which we're still working into here off of volume weighted average price. It did a wick shimmy into 45 half. It's at the 45. I have some bids into the low of the day. The scaling is going to be jacked up because it fell so far, obviously, everybody. That's just how it goes. And then that KIDZ, kids, opens up and does effectively nothing. So it kind of rinsed the bottom and is now holding above the auction, not the auction price, but the whole price. So if it can hold $9, maybe it'll give it a go. But for now, not a heck of a lot of action off that reopen. NVIDIA does lose the bid here. So this is why we didn't want 115 long. If we're going to lose the 115, either VWAP holds or you wait all the way. I have to wait all the way to 113 bucks for this long in NVIDIA. It doesn't look like it wants to go. And if the Qs are going, I'm like, well, why are we still at the highs? What's going on here? NVIDIA just lost a bid. Tesla's not doing anything. Amazon's breaking the low and about to fill this gap down into the 186 level.
I was just
so
looking
wild action. Like, where is the strength coming from right now?
Yeah,
Tell me.
I was just looking at that Amazon. I pulled it up right away because I was like, oh boy, a mistrade on my part, because we were talking about how that level was interesting, that Amazon was running up with a low volume into a level of supply. And guess what? Off the open, when volume comes in,
I'm hitting this.
Surprise, supply.
Well, I'm hitting the fail because it's right at the 193 we're talking about. But ultimately, the market was bearish, or bullish, sorry. So the first look would have been, well, let's see if it can't break away from that level. If your mind is thinking break away from the supply zone, you're not necessarily going to short it. And my mind was in the look at the reversion. People are trapped short. I'd rather be looking for long. But 193 ended up being a big one for sure. Spencer saying AMD stronger than NVIDIA. That's a pivot I usually don't mind making. It's weird. I've traded more AMD this week than NVIDIA. You're 100% right. It's a little bit stronger, not much, but have a look at $100 on AMD. This is why, I know why I wasn't looking at this one for long, because look at the overhead at $100. I don't know, you're going long into the 100. That's a tricky one. You want it breaking $100, I think. Otherwise, I'm not chasing that move for sure. I see some people talking about Alibaba. I have to go to the things that were on the list, which Robinhood at 49 was one, and it looks like it wants to get there. So I'm in XYZ until 45.5-ish, some shekels above that, and Robinhood's getting close to that 49 level. Now you're getting some strength in the market, starting to come back in here. All right. I see NVIDIA can't seem to break the volume-weighted average price, so I might take my first salvo there, which is just like an entry.
I think that just looking at both Apple and Amazon here, again, both of those being market leaders as well, we've rejected VWAP on both. We're selling off on both. The low a day is coming in. We've seen that VWAP sellers are somewhat dominant here on Amazon as of or Amazon and Apple as of right now. But yeah, the market catching a nice little wick off of that prior 15-minute candle, 20,050-ish area, nice little bid up from there. But yeah, no, Amazon was. I did pull it up right away because I'm like, oh boy, we're coming right into some of those pre-market low levels, and current day low is sitting at 187.28. Right now, 188.60s is what we're trading at right now. So consolidating near the day lows. I'm curious to know if this market tailwind is going to give us that direction, continuation to the downside. VWAP, so far, just looking at the chart, what do we see? We see that we sold off of that supply area. VWAP sellers have come back in. Day lows are about to be tested. The market is consolidating below its current highs. You can see the ES pulling back in. Par bar low breaks here on the 15-minute chart on the ES happening as well. So yeah, is Amazon poised for that low day break? Well, here you go. The answer's coming right up because we're coming into that day low right now. And Amazon trades on the NASDAQ, not the NYSE. So you can see that right here, 187. So let me throw up a filter for you guys here as well. I know that's this specific level 2 on the main screen sometimes is lagging behind. I got to update it usually for it to pull up the right ticker. But yeah, you can see now Amazon here. Here's the book on Amazon. Pretty light. Nothing too crazy. You can see here 1 to 2 lots every now and then on either side. Maybe you get a 10 lot right there you can see on the bid. But nothing too crazy. I haven't seen any significant size on anything just yet. But if and when I do, maybe that will be the first sign of distinct difference, maybe the first sign of a potential bid, first sign of some potential strength, and a potential reason to revert the move. But as of right now, nothing yet. we're coming into those day lows. So that continuation trade coming in real nice on these gap down earnings here and getting that tailwind from that market as well. UNH, oh boy, we've been talking about this.
We're losing bid here.
We're
losing
the bid.
So NVIDIA, as quick as you like, it's a tight stop, but it's VWAP. I said either VWAP or 113. So, you're not going to hold the 60 long too far past it. I am into Robinhood as it did a bit of a trend break here. So just to reiterate, wait for 113. That was a good overnight level over on NVIDIA. Pull it up on Blue Ocean if you have it. That's one thing that I like to look at a lot more now. Robinhood, not quite to 49, but did a topping tail candle at the 48.5 right when the futures were pulling back. So it's a bit of a trend reversal here on the hood. And I want to see if we can get back into, you can probably guess it, the volume weighted average price. That's just about in front of 47.75 or so. So Robinhood is more of a day two continuation play. Didn't quite get into that high above 49. We're taking that one into the short side. Oh, goodness. Got to show you Tesla here for a quick little second before I get back over to XYZ. Tesla losing the bid as well heading into 281. I feel like I want to try to be patient with the short trades in here because ultimately, this market, while we're pulling back, 20,000's in play. The overnight high and the volume weighted average price, you're running back into that. That's a good bounce spot overall for the market. So you want to play a little bit of patience with buying these dips, maybe let it travel a bit further down. So I still like NVIDIA 113 if we can get it. I think that's definitely coming into play. The market looking very, very weak. So we took a shot at it early, but I think we have to wait for the 113 to start to come in. Amazon also losing the bid here, Obi.
Yeah, I just got long on Amazon there, a bit of a hold. It was losing the bid. I like that rebid through 187 for
it almost got to 86,
a mini reversion here, but let's see if it actually follows through. That wick coming in on the market as well. So quick little push here on Amazon. Oh boy, wow. Okay, so
that's a big push.
Instantly almost a point there. So I want to piece some off right away, and then look for that reversion to VWAP. I don't usually like buying falling knives, but I will sometimes get involved on a bit of a tape turn there. That tape turn potentially coming in nicely off of the back through on 187s here, but I'll lighten up, keeping it nice and tight. Again, something I was talking about last week was that decision tree, right? Am I going counter trend or am I going with trend? As of right now here on Amazon, 100% I'm going counter trend. Therefore, do I expect immediate follow through? No. If it's going to give it to me, do I stay nimble? Absolutely yes. And that 187 is going to be very, very key here. If we hold that 187 or not, we're printing the next 3-minute candle here as of right now, but that 187 back through will get me out of this trade and this market. You can see that Apple's coming down into its lows again, and that NASDAQ is kind of teetering around that, was at 20,100 as well. So, oh boy, I don't like that at all. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. No worries. 3, 2, 1.
I just had to cancel my bids. Oh, I hate you, NVIDIA.
That missed my order, but you know what? We got lucky. I was in the 80s. I was in 186.80s. I got out 186.70s. So that's perfectly fine. You can see that. You got to be quick with that one there. And I like to use a Frex cross order, and my cross only crosses about, I think, 20 pennies, and that slammed down about, I think, 20, 30 pennies in that slam. So my Frex didn't hit.
You only crossed 20 cents?
Yeah, I only crossed 20 cents. Yeah, I don't because I tend to trade relatively liquid tickers, so I'm like 20s usually pretty good because I like to cross almost a quarter. Yeah, that's fine. If it's gonna do that, I'm gonna get out of the way. Clearly, sellers still in charge, but I'm glad I stayed nimble. I got out of a decent chunk right away. I got out of 75% on above 187s, and I lost 10 pennies on the last 25%. So nothing to see there other than a little bit of a quick scalp. That did not work, obviously. I was looking for that reversion to VWAP. Instantly gives you that almost a point and then flushes right back in as sellers clearly still dominant on this market. You can see that 20,000 mark potentially coming in here. Let's see what Adair is up to.
We have some tariff talk coming through the wire. I'm not sure if that's why we're dropping, but I think it's worth noting regardless. Comments coming from Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum saying that apparently some better conditions are being achieved here with regards to U.S. auto tariffs. So that sounds pretty positive here. She's pointing to the exemption for auto parts as a good sign here for their relations. There's also a report, and again, I want to clarify, just a report from Newsmax, which you also might know now that it's IPO, so NMAX. But Newsmax reporting that apparently Donald Trump is going to be naming Kyle Rittenhouse as the special envoy to lead China trade negotiations. Again, this is just a report, but we do have 2 trade-related headlines coming out right now. Feel like we should talk about the fact that there is some trade talk happening through the wire. Back to you.
Thanks very much there, Adara. So I can tell you right now, wow, XYZ again just wicked me out there off the high. So we're in it off of VWAP. It did just break the high and then came right back underneath, pulled back into the volume weighted average price. The scaling on this is kind of trash, but came back to that 45.6. I re-entered. Got to wait for the back end of the trade. It's still very much trend up, I think, at this particular moment. I got so lucky on NVIDIA there. I think
it came right back.
I think I got really lucky on NVIDIA because I was almost chasing this move when it came into 113. We were waiting for 113. It came underneath 114. I had some orders to chase it up in, and then it dropped when it got to VWAP. It insta-dropped $1. I think and I remember looking at Robinhood yesterday, I think you just got to wait for the other side at this point. Like, make some higher lows. Like, show a little bit more strength. You're trend down from the open here. Outside of one candle, we're trend down. Ultimately. So if you don't get like that first initial move, you got to make sure you're a little bit more patient with it. And then like Tesla, that's actually still trending down. We talked about, you were already on Amazon, so I don't want to go over that one again, but you just want to be able to wait patiently for that next big play, wherever it might be. Hood is at the 49 now, so this is kind of close to what we liked. I took the first reversion, gave it to the prior bar high, which is always a rule, and slipped another 10 cents. But in remembering Robinhood yesterday, like yesterday on the way down, I traded Robinhood like 6-7 times to finally get that bottom. Determined that if it gets into 49.25 to 50, that I've only tried it once or twice. And that's more the idea. Like, we'll let it get to that price. I don't mind taking some shots, but I'm pretty sure I had 7 trades before it eventually made that bottom. I'm thinking the same way here. The market's trying to give it up.
Microsoft's about to break yesterday's high.
High, the top?
Literally the high.
It's Microsoft and Palantir
Palantir.
Palantir is probably a little bit stronger, maybe. Oh, Palantir's up 4 points and above 120. 121, check that. So I think this one's the strongest one out there. We'll see, but I feel like if this market holds on to VWAP the way that it is, you're going to have some things joining the party very soon. NVIDIA was the one I wanted. I just have to be a little more patient for it because it's trend down right now.
Softy's in a straight line up, and whenever things are doing price action like this, you know what? I'm actually going to poke this up.
I can't see it.
This one right here. So.
Show the people.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it. I'm going to pull it up right here.
Show the people.
I will show the people. MSFT right here. So let's pull up the book. Straight line up. And whenever I see a ticker like this, my question is, where are you running? Why are you running? Right? No idea why. But yesterday's range was very, very interesting. I was very strung on the short on Softy yesterday, and that came in real nice off of into the close. But guess what? Yesterday's high gets taken out. Look at the aggressive strength coming in here on Softy. The only one out of the Mag 7 that is distinctly different right now is Softy pushing its highs of the week while the rest of the market kind of just consolidates, chops around as well. So beautiful action, nice little continuation. Today is earnings day 2 on Microsoft, and we're getting that beautiful continuation from yesterday. So yeah, maybe a little bit of profit taking and getting that continuation on the day. 437.30s currently on Softy. Let's see what action this could bring in. I'm looking for a potential pullback into VWAP, but this is super strong, Neil.
Okay,
I might be looking for that pullback into that 20,000 on the NASDAQ as well.
Yeah, so I'm just making sure, because someone just goes, Neil, did you hear that news? What was the news from Adara? A couple of people in the chat have mentioned this, and they're like, what did Adara just say? So I'm going to get her to repeat that if we can. Are we ready to go to Adara? Let's go to Adara, because a few people want a clarification on that story.
So the story here, and again, unclear, of course, if this is verified. It's just been circling around here, but a couple different sources saying on X that apparently on Newsmax, which is, again, a news channel they publicly trade as NMAX, apparently on Newsmax, they're saying that Donald Trump could or will name Kyle Rittenhouse as a special envoy for China with regards to trade, to lead China trade negotiations to specify. So again, this is just a report. It has not been confirmed, but Newsmax speculating here. We did get a little bit of a drop when that first came out. We also had some positive trade talks here. This is just UNG because there's some oil headlines as well, but it's not doing much. We'll go back to the NASDAQ here. It is worth noting that we also had Claudia Sheinbaum, president of Mexico, speaking positively about how I guess the trade situation is progressing between the U.S. and Mexico. But those were the headlines. Again, no confirmation, simply reporting what I am seeing coming through on the wire. That is all. Back to you.
Look, I'm always going to, and I'll tell you, I'm being straight up, we'll always try to stay apolitical. It's about movement in the market and reacting to it. That's what Trader TV is about. I just can't believe that would be true. I'll leave it at that. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's weird to me. That doesn't. Yeah, and I don't know necessarily that that's going to move the markets ultimately, but yeah, I mean, people want a clarification. So thank you very much for Adara. All right, so back into XYZ. We had it to VWAP, it blew out. It then topping tail candle. We're at least waiting for it to get back down to 44.4. NVIDIA is still trying to catch a little bit of a bid. I am tracking that, kids, for everybody. What's the actual name of this company? What the heck is this? And trust me, like there's a million of these. Class over holding. So class, kids. Halted to the downside now. So anyone that's in this on kids, it halted up. It wasn't doing anything. Remember how we were saying it was a little bit weak and it wasn't giving you the goods, the buyers? Well, the sellers are in control now and you're underneath the pre-market lows. Halted down, tap is 675, but that's starting to look at least a little bit nasty. So eyeballs on that for the open. All right, trying to be patient with NVIDIA here. You've got a bit of a trend down that I need to break. So this needs to break this downtrend for me to jump back in again. It's 10 o'clock. We've got economic numbers, and we've got happening now back-to-back at the desk with Adara.
More numbers just coming out here. Factory orders month over month, 4.3%, slightly below estimates of 4.5%, but well above last month's print of 0.6%. Core durable goods revised and durable goods revised, exactly in line with estimates. Nothing to see there. But again, factory orders month over month, a little bit lower than expectations. NASDAQ, nice push up this morning on those stronger than expected NFP numbers. But since that push to the upside, we've continuously made higher highs and higher lows, albeit with a couple bottoming tail candles mixed in there. Here is Apple after earnings. They did report a beat when it comes to their sales and EPS, but China sales continues to be an issue within that region. And CEO Tim Cook did mention a $900 million tariff impact they're expecting for the current quarter. Then we have TTWO. Take-Two has made a nice bounce off these lows, but they plummeted this morning after Rockstar Games announcing that the release of the highly anticipated GTA 6 or Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be delayed until May of next year. It was expected to come fall of this year. So lots of different movers on watch, earnings and non-earnings, but for whatever reason, whatever stocks you're looking at, make sure to like, subscribe, and join us every day here at Trader TV Live. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Fabian saying he called it. He's saying
he did call it. Fabian, we remember. We absolutely called that, and unfortunately, well, the market hadn't mattered that much. The market hadn't cared that much that they've been delaying it. So is it going to be too big of a deal now? I don't know for Take-Two. What I can tell you is on trend and flying higher. Like Palantir is doing what you want. Well, I mean, not what you want. It's what I want NVIDIA to be doing, right? Like ultimately, NVIDIA, the only reason I was only long at once is this. Right, got to get some bids in front of VWAP on XYZ as that starts to come back down in the money. But NVIDIA is trending down, Palantir is trending up. I'm looking for a reversion on NVIDIA, while Palantir, I think if it reverts, maybe you look back at the 120 level. Why 120? Well, supply zone yesterday in the afternoon. Like if it gets anywhere near that, I think it would be golden. But at this rate, Palantir doesn't want any part of that 120 level as it just goes flying higher and higher and higher. So I think it's one of the strongest names out there. But hold on to your butts because I think with this market breaking higher, this might be it. There's a bottoming tail candle and the trend break on NVIDIA would be happening now. No pun intended. Obviously, we just did happening now with Adara. So there's your bottoming tail. There's your break of the trend. I mean, the prior bar it was a bottoming tail, so it's 113.60. If I'm following the rule, I give it to that and not the wick. And I will be following the rule here because you're trend down. I think when you're trend down, I'd rather have a quick exit than anything else. It's weak relative to the market, but if we're going to blow at the highs, I don't think we're doing it without NVIDIA. I'll get an offer in front of VWAP, which is at, how is it always 420? It's just so weird, man. Like, it feels like every time I look at something, I'm saying 420 to people. But VWAP is at 114.20 on NVIDIA, and that 115 level is big resistance. So we get to the half dollar, we take some more out there. I think it's a breakout through that price as well. So here comes market into the highs. I want to play this one into the volume weighted average price. Tesla's starting to go. Come on, NVIDIA, join the party. Whoever told me that I should be on AMD was probably right. Trend break on AMD is already through the volume weighted average price, and here's NVIDIA only getting the 114.20 fills now. A little bit of relative weakness in NVIDIA, but it finally gave the setup we wanted.
Yeah, the softy looked like it was taking a little bit of a break there, but that market tailwind coming in real hot, coming in back into those highs there, and softy picking right back up as well. Current day high is 437.40s. We're trading 437.30s right now, kind of maybe poised to come into some of those highs there. But yeah, going to continue watching some of these futures and looking for the next opportunity. There goes the high here on softy. So it seems like we're continuing to trend up a little bit here as softy shows us that strength, the breakout of yesterday's high. So am I doing too well reverting it? Probably not. I think this one is definitely poised for a little bit more of an up move here on the day, but that 437.5 a little interesting to me as well. So let's kind of continue to be in this area and see if we take a bit of a breather. But again, fighting the trend a little bit there, a little bit of a counter trend move. Hasn't really shown. It showed weakness for like a little bit and then comes right back in. So definitely might need some more time on that one there. What else is moving here? Let's see what
Meta's going.
Meta's going. ARM as well. Oh boy, ARM 120, Neil. So ARM is really pushing pretty aggressively as of right now as well.
I should
Intel
sell some
kind
of
of
that.
dropped. You're in that one long term?
No, ARM, yeah. ARM I recently bought. I got a great price on ARM. Recently, I've been very reluctant to sell it. But this is what you got to be able to notice here. Like AMD goes through the volume weighted average price. NVIDIA holds underneath it. This is all while we're top here on the NASDAQ. I mean, you have so many things that are punching through. I didn't show you guys Meta, but here's Meta. Meta's absolutely punching. Well, it was a second ago. A second ago, Meta was at these highs and punching through. Now you have a bit of a topping tail candle, which I guess would be a bit bearish. No, NVIDIA's got to play a little bit of catch up. It needs to punch. I'm holding on to it and I'm not reloading because I think a reload would need to be a better price than what we've got. So yeah, let's just be patient with NVIDIA. I want to be adding to this on the front side as it tries to go up, but it's not giving me any indication that we're there yet. I think that's a big yet because we blow out the tops, NVIDIA should go. I see a lot of people saying Apple's about to go. Apple wasn't really in the plans for anything but a short, and unless you had it off the open, these are not levels that I want on Apple. Amazon, on the other hand, you had Amazon long.
Yeah, but I stopped out of that one. That one again, it was like I stopped out a little too early. It comes right back in. I have to re-engage, right?
You know how I knew?
How?
Because it's a very clean. Was it like a very clean trend break?
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely has that. And again, it's made the move all the way back through VWAP when NVIDIA just refuses to do so. So it's a little unfortunate that NVIDIA decides to only go like 20, 30 cents and not doing much. But Apple looking relatively strong. I know a lot of people are looking at that kids stock. Yeah, kids open, but not exactly flying. You're still looking a little bit weak. I didn't pay for shorts on that, so I'm not going to try and short that stock. Wasn't part of the plan whatsoever. I feel like Amazon's starting to show its strength. And I don't want to wait for 193 if it holds the higher low. You have a bit of a reverse head and shoulders going on with Amazon if it breaks 190. Hold VWAP here, break 190 to the upside, I think could be the way to go. And a big shout out to, I don't know how to say that name, but shout out to you anyways. There, we'll take it. I don't know what that is, but we'll take it right there. Appreciate you as always, but I have no idea what that name is going to be there. All right, so I want to see Amazon either holding VWAP, and then we can pivot to that long over NVIDIA, because NVIDIA is just not giving us what we want here. I know what I want to happen in NVIDIA, and it's not. Like, it's trying to break the volume weighted average price right now.
Okay.
Okay, no, just give us a second. And you're absolutely right, special normal. Here, I'm going to show you the black chart. NVIDIA is going to reload in a quick little second here. No, block, I have bids going into VWAP, but it's about to break 46. Where my stop is on block, we're in at 45.5, and It's been binary. It's one of those take the trend trade, give it to the prior bar high, and then bid out into the low. Block is going, but if it breaks that top, you'll just see me come out. I'm trying not to hold things. I try not to hold things past my stop levels. But the next execution play, seemingly to me, is going to be trying to catch this bid on NVIDIA. Here's the thing. I know you probably hear, you can hear footsteps around, and everyone's been seeing, like, behind us, there's like a big gap. There's no longer all those seats. Obi wasn't sitting where he was before.
I moved to the corner.
Yeah, we threw Obi in the corner. The reason for that, everybody, is a massive change is going to be happening over the next few months here at Trader TV Live. Big renovations, Studio 8 is what it's going to be. It's like the 8th iteration of our change. There's been a lot of change around here. This is going to be by far the biggest, and the biggest reason is to improve audience engagement and the conversation nature of what we're going to have. It's about building community and building a set that you guys will be able to engage with us better and sort of feel how many bodies we have and thoughts around and better communication with everybody. It's going to be absolutely huge. So look, there's going to be lots of screens, lots of cameras, more chairs, more for you to see, and promise you a better show. But there's going to be a lot of work going on in the back. And all of this is probably going to be disappearing that you see behind us. Let's go over to the desk with Adara as the market's still trying to break.
Alan, you're in a nice little uptrend here. PLTR on watch here. Punchbowl reporting that with this fiscal year 2026 budget, apparently for Trump's team, so far it would actually see a 13% increase in defense spending. So PLTR, we know defense spending has been on watch, especially with the Department of Government Efficiency, but Palantir might be okay here. Defense spending reportedly being increased by 13% under Trump's planned budget for fiscal 2026, reported by the Punchbowl. Of course, not yet confirmed. Back to you.
It's tough to kind of do that like real time. Yeah. Oh. While also doing the show.
No, David Tressi, okay, look, I have an explanation for this. Killing Me with Zed. XY stock is Pulp Fiction, Zed is dead. If you want to be the 50 worst state, it's Z like zebra. Look, I get it. I understand. You say Z, the rhyme says Z, and almost everyone in Canada even says Z, even though it's technically Z. I only do it to sort of reinforce how it's taught in school for my daughter, right? Because, you know, she learns Z because that's the proper way to say it. So I've been going with that because, you know, she's learning and I'm just trying to be consistent. So bear with me. It's fine. It's not like you don't know what symbol we're talking about, and I'll probably say block half the time. But with the market breaking these highs, I can tell you, NVIDIA pulling right back in. So I want to be on the better side of this, which means give me the higher low, or at least give me some green or some strength to play off of on NVIDIA. And I'm not seeing it right now, so I'm not just going to fight it over and over and over again, for sure. The NQ is breaking out. And Amazon, I think, look, Amazon's still holding that VWAP, so I'm going to still favor like a 190 punch. 190 punch long on Amazon. If it holds VWAP, it's a clean breakout on this reverse head and shoulders on Amazon. So I'm just going to get my order in, which once it's in, you will see right there. And if it breaks, I'm going to have an aggressive limit order if it breaks. But if it doesn't break that top, then I don't go into Amazon. It's just going to be that simple. Got to make sure it goes. And Palantir as well. I see a lot of people talking about Palantir. Look at that trend hold. This is definitely an Obi type trend. But the trend from VWAP just broke. So I think you're looking at maybe a VWAP retracement here on PLTR. That'll be at the 121. Maybe I'm not sticking a fork in the 120 level because that was the only thing I had written down, and then for some reason didn't prioritize it. But yeah, Palantir's starting to pull back in here. It's weird because Tesla's about to break the low and the market's breaking the highs, which I didn't come in here thinking that Tesla was some kind of an obvious short after we blew through 285. But then it rejected 285. Checks notes, what are you doing? I should be short.
Yeah, this
fail.
I think that
I literally wrote down, and I quote, head and shoulders pattern with afternoon resistance at 285 unless we break through that level looking short under. Whoops.
It's funny because that happens to me a lot of the times as well, where like I'll write down like a perfect plan, but in terms of like execution, I totally miss it. But so how do you feel like?
Did you trade the stock at least though?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But,
No, I didn't even trade.
There's
Tesla.
like I got 10 takers on my list.
Instead,
You know what I mean?
no.
Like,
Instead, I'm punching out and taking an L on XYZ. I said Z again. When it breaks that top, like there's your mean reversion of the long for an SSR bounce. Pretty sure we said SSR bounce on. Doesn't matter. And then it's going higher. But Tesla, when I look back, checks notes. It was consolidating above the 185 on economic data. So I get it. Like that's actually a bullish look at your level at that point. And then the first thing it did at the open was break it out. So you're like, okay, well, that's out of the window. You're not shorting Tesla. But then what happens right after that? What happens right after that is a failed breakout and a lower high at what price? 285. So when we talk about following your plan of action, Tesla was the top of my list today. Now, it's fine to throw it out if you were looking short and it's bullish above your price level. That's perfectly fine. But at what time did that come right back in? At 9:36. And then it's been trend down ever since on Tesla. Now, the first thing you don't want to do is you don't want to FOMO into the short and start punching lows because that would be a bit of a mistake. So obviously, I should be short Tesla. But on that list was also NVIDIA. And NVIDIA gives VWAP. First trade, we try out VWAP. It's just a straight loss. Then we have a flat trade because we get some VWAP, and then we stop out relatively tight. But that's still trending down. I'm glad we didn't add to this position. I'm glad I'm not holding it into those lows. It needs to start working the other side. Like it needs to start turning into some kind of an upward trend, a double bottom, some kind of a long setup that I could sink myself into. We got a super chat in here. Again, another one, and this one's not complaining about me saying Z instead of Z. Keep it up, Neil and Obi, my trading office TV perma-screen. Bust a rap for us for To the Moon Friday. Off the top of my head, give me some time to work on it. I'll come up with something for the afternoon show, which it'll be probably like Rock Him or something. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the super chat. And I know you've sent a lot of them, and we appreciate all of them.
Yeah, I remember when I used to watch the show from home, I remember I used to look forward to Neil's rap sessions. Whatever happened to those?
You ain't gotta lie, Obi. You know you did.
No, of course I
because like, no, but I literally only.
You do it near the close.
But stuff you've never heard of.
I mean, it was still good. Some of it I did hear.
No, it wasn't. And just for a couple people said, why not talking about Meta? Ultimately, you're going to try and cover the stocks that you're trading. So I've really only been on a couple of names in here. So yeah, we've been looking at Meta. It doesn't get heavily day traded because of the price. That said, it's clearly doing a job. There isn't even a red candle inside. Like you're wondering where the strength is. Tesla just broke 280. You're wondering where the strength is. Like Meta is clearly the strong one. Like you're seeing Amazon still not breaking out. Apple, right? Like Apple still not breaking out. And I mean, Microsoft, load. This is when I do too many in a row too fast. Microsoft is holding strength, but it's holding the top end of the range here on Softy. So it's not continuing the breakout. And I don't like it's clearly trending higher, but not in the same way that Meta is. It's also into some resistance, like yesterday's highs in the 600 level, but this would be the Liberation Day top if you were to break this out. Boeing also apparently going, but Tesla, that's going to be the big regret for me because that actually was part of the trade plan. Tesla short, and it continues to go. But you can't chase it. You just have to go back over to sit right back into your plan. Now NVIDIA looks a little bit better, so I think a re-entry. I don't mind getting out on what ultimately will be a flat trade the second time through, but you're breaking out the high. So I can re-enter this one. And remember, I'm still taking that break on Amazon 190. I'm going to try and re-enter, build in back into this now double bottom. I want some at 114. I think better trades here at 113.80 as well. Day trader cut, 100%. Opportunity cost, looking at XYZ. But I can't blame Tesla. Like Tesla, that's not an issue because I have 4 black charts up there. Like when I look up, do we have that shot? Can you do my overhead? I want to show this if I can. Do this shot here, the one where they can see my screen. Can we do that? I don't know if we have that one.
Oh,
no, from behind. If we can do from behind. It's fine. If we can't get it, we can't get it. No, when I look up or when I pull down the charts for you guys, like if I pull down the chart, just show the screen I have right now, and that's fine. When I show you guys, like I've had Tesla up the whole way. So when I missed that short trade, that wasn't even opportunity cost. Did we get rid of that camera?
Maybe.
You know what? I just looked back and it
yeah.
might not be there anymore. Lots of changes happening with the renovations, everybody.
No idea.
So yeah, I can't blame that on opportunity cost with Tesla. I've had it up the whole time, and ultimately, that's just on me. You know, like I saw it and I threw it out as a short because of how it's set up after the numbers came out. I think that was obviously a bit of a mistake. EMAD wants to look at Intel. My guess is it's probably as frustrating as NVIDIA. No, it's strong. Yeah, why is Intel so strong today? Because I can't think of a reason why.
Push in the open.
You guys know exactly what I'm going to say here with regard to Intel if you've been watching the show. Anytime I see double tops like this on Intel, look at the supply at 2080 and at 21. This goes another 20, 30 cents. I'm trying a reversion short on Intel. I know because the semis are up, but not all the semis are always having to go the same way, everybody. Like Intel has been languishing in a relative sense compared to the semis for a while. Let's go talk about some small caps at the desk with Adara.
I looked into Intel, Neil. The most recent story I found was it getting a sell rating, and that was 2 days ago. So no news on Intel on Benzinga in the last few days. Kind of shocking for a pretty closely watched ticker. But regardless, IWM knocking on the door of $200, $199.30, currently at high of days. Nice little push to the upside with slightly higher lows and a flat top. And relative volume worth noting, though, not huge. It's actually under 1. It's 0.8 right now. PLRZ, Poly Ryzen to the upside. This is an Israeli company, so it is an ADR. I don't have any news on it, but I do have a 2 million share float, and it's rallied in the past. Actually, all of these names, I believe, on here have rallied in the past. We have ASTS. This is AST Space Mobile. If you've watched the midday with Sharif, you might remember this ticker. It has rallied again previously. No catalyst on this. Double top near that $27 level. And this one has a hefty short float, about 27%. Then you've got a 14% short float for UU. That is Energy Fuels. They're reporting next week. Canadian uranium company, 17% short float. Good look here. Lots of heavily shorted, closely watched tickers today. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara. Oh, we just wicked the high in the future.
Oh, yeah. So kind of was building into a bit of a position here on Softy. Again, I like, it's funny. I know for a fact I'm gonna, if I show this chart to the pod, they're gonna be like, Obi, what are you doing? Wait for the right side of the V, and don't short the front side of the move. And yeah, no, definitely very valid point there. But I kind of this is where I gotta kind of find a balance between finding tape that I like to sell into versus the chart pattern that I should be selling into, right? It's like, all right, you have certain things that you're looking for, wait for confirmation, and that confirmation could be different relative to what others think as confirmation, but when and if it does come in, you're almost always gonna get better prices if you wait for the confirmation. Right side of the V, if I took this trade on that, it would have been 438.30s. My average is 437.60s, so not the best right now. 437's coming right back in, and yeah, like what the whole point is, yeah, people are expecting this aggressive move to go right to 440s. Yeah, okay. I think that it is a little bit overextended relative to what the market's doing. Sure, it could have gone to 440s, and I would have stopped out. I could have gone taken out on that and would have tried again. But again, the idea is to kind of we were just talking about this earlier with the SSR. You know, when strong buyers come in, buy with them. When strong sellers come in, sell with them. But the counter trend sometimes has you selling to buyers who are kind of aggressively pushing up near the end of a move, maybe? I don't know. But the tape definitely started slowing down a little bit. 436s, I can definitely get out a little bit on that break, 437.30s, and then re-engage at the 438 for a potential pullback into VWAP. Don't know if it's going to get to VWAP right now because we are pretty strong on the day. VWAP set for 34.80, so only about a couple points away from that one. There, 436.80 is currently trading, so not the best in terms of my execution, but the trade's finally kind of potentially starting to work. Let's see if the futures kind of come back into this choppy range. We've re-entered this opening range chop here on the futures. ES never really left. I'm talking about the NASDAQ. We just, like Neil said, we just kind of wicked that high as of right now. So I'm looking for the next trade. This one's finally starting to work a little bit here. So let's see if it'll actually follow through. I'm looking for VWAP. If we get more, and that's cherry on top on Softy. But a beautiful, beautiful kind of a reversion potential coming in here. Let's see if we get that VWAP. VWAP on my P Pro here. What is that? 434.60s. The thing is, we could also not get VWAP. Right? VWAP doesn't have to happen. This is very, very strong on the day. At the end of the day, I can sit here and be like, all right, I'm on the right side of the V technically here on a shorter time frame, but because the ticker is so strong and it is earnings day 2, and we had a strong reaction off of the earnings reaction, this is still technically trending up. So therefore, that means that I am counter trending, and I can't always expect a full-on follow-through all the way down into VWAP. If the bid does step up anywhere along the way, I do have to kind of respect that as well. And confluence with the market, I'm not really seeing too much. 20,100 maybe on the NASDAQ. But again, we've chopped that level so much that it's not really shown to be of any significance right now. Apple, though, Apple pushing up to its highs as of right now. So that one's definitely worth a bit of a watch here. Reddit coming into its anchored VWAP as well off of earnings. So have some of those on watch. But let us know what you guys are watching as well. And Neil, what are you looking at?
We'll get to just that in a second, but that will be brought to you by our good friends over at Trade the Pool. Because we all know that saying, big opportunity comes with big risk. But what if it wasn't true anymore? Trade the Pool is redefining what risk means for traders. No more risking your life savings to prove yourself in the market. They give you access to company capital up to $200,000. To trade real stocks, no CFDs, and your downside is limited to a single one-time fee that starts at just $47. That means no blowing up your personal account. You get to trade with serious BP, all while knowing your loss is capped. Trade the Pool offers an unlimited time now during the evaluation, so you get the freedom to trade your way with no time pressure. Visit tradethepool.com and see how far your $47 can take you. You can scan that QR code that you see in front of you. Shout out to Trade the Pool. Trading company capital is a heck of a lot easier. We talk about the difference between internal and external discipline. When you're trading on another firm's rules, like we trade on a prop floor, that internal discipline is reinforced by the external discipline of a risk system or a risk manager, and it does help in your battle for sure. Apple's starting to go as it's on fire. I'll show you what's going on here, because ultimately, how much do I want to fight NVIDIA? Not that much. Tesla back at VWAP, market breaking the highs, Apple's starting to go, so we keep trying to grab that long. We have had one bounce into VWAP on NVIDIA, and that's it. And it's still trending lower and lower and lower. I can tell you that XYZ did another trend break, so took the first reversion. In theory, it did pull back into VWAP, but I didn't cover it all. I was holding for a push down lower, so that's why it'll be an L. Didn't have to be, but it was. And now you have another trend break happening on XYZ, XYZ, whatever you want to call it. So the high is 46.25, and we'll get out there. But Tesla's absolutely flying. Ben Weiss, Fubo reported this morning. That's why it's down 16%. We can take a look at it. We thank you for the super chat for sure. There were so many earnings today, there was almost no way we were going to get through them all in the opening show, in the pre-market show. It just wasn't going to happen, but Fubo was one. It does have a decent short float and a chance to get through, and you're getting this could be an SSR bounce. 243 would be the local bottom, I guess, right now. 243, did it bounce? It bounced exactly off of that low. Well, if you know what we mean by stock is SSR, 10% down, uptick rule in effect, you look for bounces off levels like that when it can, because it's just more difficult for people to pile it on the short down, so you tend to have a good relief rally. Well, it goes right to that local bottom, and there is your bounce play on Fubo, or halfway to VWAP, so I wouldn't be chasing it, though. Just wouldn't be part of my style. But yeah, good look there, hopefully if you were long, for sure, if you're off that level. Otherwise, unfortunately, not a good cue for them. Palantir is just on one of the steepest trend lines you'll see. Oh, yeah, I hate to say the old oh boy, but this is kind of.
Yeah, that's.
And remember, this is going into an all-time high.
Yeah.
Trend up, going into an all-time high at 125 change on Palantir.
I think that Definitely one to keep an eye on here. I'm a little focused here on Softy. Kind of that pullback held pretty well, so maybe that was a bit of a reload for the longs there as we hold that 4650s ish area. But I do want to stay a little bit involved. The futures are pretty strong. We're coming right back into highs there. And Softy, well, this was a first real kind of a slowdown there. Let's see if the selling kind of steps in a little bit there. Wow, what is this ticker? Berkshire. Yeah, Berkshire was one I had on watch as well. That one's kind of pushing up to the upside. Qualcomm to the upside as well. Oh boy, there goes Softy back to 438s. Ripping to the upside there. So that's some aggressive strength. So reclaiming some of those moving averages. Yeah, you're saying nobody's trading Berkshire.
No, Fabian. Fabian just said, you guys can't hear Fabian. Fabian's like, you got to trade Berk A. Nobody's trading Berk A. Nobody trades Berk A. It just flat out doesn't happen. Berk B, you can absolutely trade. As the market's breaking the highs, I still have my order to break long in Amazon, but I'm considering a different approach, which would be nibble in, like cancel this, nibble in half in front of VWAP, take the other half on the break. And I'm actually convincing myself that's the better way to go. So the first thing I'll do, I just realized as I cancel that, we actually have a function where I don't have to cancel that order. I could just do a cancel replace for less shares, which sometimes I forget that we can do that. Anyways, I just put a new order in. We're holding VWAP, so I want to nibble in front of VWAP and then take the other half on the breakout for AMZN. Because I think if the market's going, I don't want to miss this now nice upward trend in here. I wanted to be long Amazon into 193 or playing off of 193 in a general sense. So we're going to jump over there for sure. Wally Sparks talking about bros. Wolf apparently is moving, but my eyeballs are going to be on these big caps as the NASDAQ now 1.5% and hunting for more. By the way, Hood's almost at 50, displaying an absurd amount of patience with Robinhood right now. Because Robinhood was a fade into this level, and it's now here. Let's go get the crypto update with Adair. Bitcoin's at 97, which is not bad. I thought we could get to 100 this weekend. I guess I'm wrong about that.
Here's Bitcoin. I want to look at the 3-minute chart first because, as Neil was saying, Bitcoin's been really bullish this week. And as you can see in the 3-minute, starting on Wednesday, we've really bottomed out and tried to form a bit of a bull flag. First, we broke across that key local resistance level of 96,500. We got as high as 97.5 yesterday. Now we've been chopping, trying to make some higher lows. So this Bitcoin break to the upside still looks really promising. Let's move over to the daily chart. Also looking pretty good here. Again, this bull flag locally on the daily chart is going to basically start bottoming out here near Easter, near mid-late April. Get this nice push to the upside. Now the next resistance level is 100,000. We have not been at this level since February. And even then, February 21st, we rejected it. We didn't even get above it. So if we can get back above 100,000, it'll be huge. And maybe Sharif wins that Bitcoin bet with Joe for whoever gets to 125,000 first. Bitcoin relatively flat. Ethereum relatively flat. XRP relatively flat. BNB, Solana, Dogecoin, Cardano, you guessed it. They're all pretty flat today. Market really nicely at highs. Bitcoin and some of its crypto friends a little bit more consolidative and or range bound here. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
Range bound.
Look at this flush come in, man. I'm looking at this Softy right here. Softy pulling right back in. So 436 is we're breaking some of that prior structure and that first little bid up there. So shout out to our boy Elliot. If you guys know Elliot Waves, 436 coming in here. I usually wait for those 3 waves to come in. I don't call them Elliot Waves. I call them I call them something else, the three somethings, but got to wait for some of those to come in sometimes. Well, because it's a bad word. That's why I can't really say it there. But 430. So VWAP's 435. We're about a point away from VWAP here on Softy. So again, like I said, I'm gonna be patient. Let's see if that potentially comes in. This is about a point in the money. I should not be looking at my blotter, but it's up right now. So I'm like, oh, about a point in the money. Let's go. No, getting too excited. Be patient. Take a deep breath. Let the trade work for you. Is it reverting to VWAP? Do we have market tailwind? Yes, we do. Can I wait for 435s? Yes, I can. Yes, we can. So let's see, a bit of a reserve here happening at 436s. If that reserve breaks with any sort of distinction, I think that VWAP can definitely be a little bit in play here. We're retesting some of those prior levels as well. So a bit of a stall happening. Those sellers that I was looking for did come in. So again, do I really kind of pinch pennies for a whole, well, pinching dollars maybe, pinching points. But let's see if that 435 can come in. Oh boy, here it comes. 435 75s. Can you break the 75, print the half, and then let's see the quarter next? That's the question that I'm asking right now. Market tailwind potentially giving us some I guess, tailwind as well. Wind in our sails there to the downside. Here it comes, 435.75. I got to start getting a little bit active here potentially, see if it'll take me on the bid. If not, then maybe potentially cover the rest of it here if we cannot break or hold below that 465 mark. Sorry, 436. 436 I'm getting all messed up here. So about a point away from VWAP. I'm going to cover, let's say, you know what? I think this is a respectable amount. Let's cover about that much. And I think we're posted for a little bit more as well. That drops us, actually that doesn't drop us. That brings our average up to 437.65s. Let's see if that can kind of catch us here. I think I got a bid for a little bit more as well, but we'll let that come in. Again, 436 is a bit of a chop zone here as the futures holds that 20,100. And you know what? Okay, thank you. Come again. I don't really like that too much right now. Sure, we can come back into 436s, but where's the next trade? That's what I'm asking right now.
VWAP.
Where's the next trade? VWAP is the next trade, maybe potentially.
That's VWAP. The red's VWAP.
The red is VWAP right here. But like I said, I know I'm counter trending. I saw a reserve show up on 436s. A bid hold, unlike any other that we've seen so far from the selling that we got from the highs at 439s. Sure, it could be absolute noise, and that could just be a random order that's maybe buying up 436s before it steps away and we trade even lower down to VWAP. I have no idea. But in terms of the tape, I think that's more than enough for me to be like, all right, thank you, come again, let's go to the next trade. And where is the next trade is what I'm asking. Wow, Softy comes back up right away. I'm like, all right, I just traded Softy, calm down. Where is, okay, ARM is pushing up as well. ARM is pretty strong, SMH pretty strong as well. So looking at those, Softy, again, I keep looking at the Softy chart. I'm like, oh boy, that looks like a great reversion. But I got to be a little bit more patient for that one. Where is I guess some of these tech names not really doing too much. Intel very strong. AMD was strong. Now trading back lower. ARM we just spoke about. TSM trading within its opening range, so pretty choppy there. Let's see. Check out the clip from Native New York saying, Obi, if you're curious about VWAP, check out the clip from Joseph. It's a fantastic watch. Yes, Joe, I will watch that one there. And
Joe, did you do a VWAP video?
Did you do the VWAP video?
I did not.
You say you guys don't know? Yeah, go. Yeah,
I did not know about that.
Oh, boy.
For the life of me, I had no idea that you did a VWAP video. But you know what? If you're looking for that or any other indicator, then eSignal is waiving fees for 1 month. Yeah, the first month is free over at eSignal, so you can trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade your trading experience with highly customizable charting, back testing, forward testing, level 2 data, imbalance locator, screeners, out the yin-yang. You get pretty much every single screener you could imagine. The ability to hook to multiple brokers so you can trade directly through eSignal if you want to. The key, of course, being first month is free. It's very intuitive. It's a very reliable platform in terms of market data. Market's open, you're good to go. So make sure you check this one out. If you don't like it, fine. If you don't want to chart VWAP on it, fair enough. Do whatever it is that you want to do. I use it every single day, and I'm absolutely loving it. Some of the scanners, of course, I think we use on a daily basis, keep you in the know of what's moving. So scan the QR code in front of you. Get that first month free. Over at eSignal, and a big thank you to them. And as you were saying about the front side, back side, oops.
Oh.
I don't know why I was, I do know why I had ARM up there on the weekly. I will get to that a little bit later, but every single time when we're getting on the front end, now you've got a crest on XYZ at the 1420. So I did take some out of that last little push back down into the 80s, into VWAP. I want VWAP on this stock at this current moment. So we're waiting for VWAP. Someone asked, where is resistance on Palantir? Everything is theoretical, but when you have a chart like this, there's only one place that you can say this is resistance on Palantir. That's 125. It's a blue sky setup. It's an all-time high. The only resistance is the all-time high on Palantir. You can spot something else, you've got better eyes than me. So I'm like, if you're a mean reversion trader, you're looking for the trend to break, and ideally, the best entry would be if it did like a parabolic wick up, rejected that 45, and then came down. Or sorry, 25, and then came back into the downside. So we'll see if that happens on PLTR. For now, just did a reload on XYZ of what we got out, and then keep going back and forth with that Z, doesn't matter. And then we'll see if we can get this pull back into the volume weighted average price. But a little bit more tighter entries as it's finally consolidating off that top. I do have my first salvo in hood. Let me just bring this one here for you. As we said, we wanted 50. First opportunity on a pullback into the 50 we took. This is yesterday's, when we had that big move up, which is not yesterday's, it's in the aftermarket 2 days ago with the big sellers. And if you were watching the aftermarket show a couple of nights ago, you saw the 50 level over there on Robinhood. So waited for it to get into that top to take another shot at that bad boy. Sharif, like, tell him, Neil, because Sharif knows it was a wild aftermarket show when we had Robinhood going up, down, round and around. But the 50 sellers were definitely a big deal there. IBIT's popping too. IBIT wasn't on the plan of action today. I hope Joe's long this. No, I mean, are you trading it right now?
Yeah, he said he's trading it right now.
He's long it right now. So if you can, he's got the breakout. And the funny thing is, the second I saw this break, I'm like, Joe's probably on this because he trades Bitcoin every single day. And IBIT, with a nice consolidation right off yesterday's close prices matter more. You want to see where the stock ends the day, and now you're breaking out that top. So there you go. Bounce or bail. So salvo, so think of it this way. It's just if you're taking multiple entries in a stock off a level, getting in, like, say, a quarter at a time, like your first entry would be like a salvo. I don't know. I think sometimes the terminology we use, I get it. Maybe other people don't understand it. So if I say salvo, that means I'm just taking my first entry on something. Hopefully that makes sense to you there. So IBIT's breaking out. I'm not in IBIT, not really looking at that stock. And yeah. We're gonna go back to Adara in a second. Hood did hit 50 and bounced off it. That's why I'm in that short. I don't like even dollar stops, however. So we waited for about 50.03 to get out of that one. I think 50.03. Actually, no, I got 02s. All right, better buy a cent. There wasn't a lot of slippage on it, but I'm only looking fade on Robinhood. And unlike yesterday, I'm willing to be, I had 7 trades on Robinhood yesterday. 7 to try to catch the bottom. And today I said, I'll take a couple shots at it, but I want to make sure if it does that move, that I'm right now down a quarter of what I was when we had this nonsense and it finally made a bottom. So at least we're being a little bit more patient with it. But I'm only looking one way on Robinhood at these prices, which is just like that bottom. I want to look for the reversion, and you only needed one shot yesterday. And I would have got it all back if I hadn't taken 7 trades in the first place to go through. So I want to look for that one shot to get it back on Hood. XYZ is starting to come right back in there, but it's only like 10 cents in the money right now, so that's not going to do anything for me. I want it to be 20 before we take anything out. And Amazon still doesn't want to break 190. That's not happening. Oh, Kids was the other name that I wanted to get to. It's already 10:40.
Boy.
Kids, sometimes that early break kind of breaks the back of a breakout trade. However, remember, there we go. This is day 2, and look at that double top. So obviously that $10 level was a big, clear place of resistance for it. You actually have yesterday's close sitting in here for the gap fill, and it's trying to catch a bid off of, yesterday's highs, I should say, and it's trying to hold on to that. So anyone that's small capper trading this, I know nobody likes longs underneath VWAP, but it just pulls right into the prior high and is trying to catch a little bit of a bid. So I don't want to say it's dead yet. The reversion to VWAP, I guess, would still be in play for you if you're into that sort of a thing.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of reversion to VWAP, Softy actually kind of broke below that. So I covered everything on that 436s. That 436 holds, and I'm like, 435 is VWAP. All right, cool. Next trade, maybe I'm going to take a quick potential push right into VWAP. We're coming right into VWAP right now, printing that last quarter above 435. So let's see if Softy, almost forgot the ticker here, can print that 435 on top of VWAP. We're pretty much at VWAP. Pretty much we went to VWAP. We're holding VWAP as of right now. So maybe that's all the trade is. But with the futures, maybe looking for a bit of a pullback with only about a few minutes left. I'm going to see if 435 actually prints on the bid on Softy. If it does, that's great. And if it bounces, then that's perfectly fine as well. I think that is also good for a potential continuation. Let's see what Adair is up to.
Here is the sector board. Mentioned earlier, finance really strong. Berkshire to the upside, JPM, Visa, MasterCard, etc. here. Technology services looking pretty good as well. Meta, Palantir, Oracle, all looking pretty strong. Meta day 2 earnings, and Palantir, it is worth noting, could be benefiting from these reports that apparently sounds like there could be some increased defense spending under Trump's reported proposed fiscal 2026 budget. Electronic technology, Apple, hugely red, but great look here for Broadcom, NVIDIA, RTX, TXN. Retail trade, Amazon red, but the rest of these names pretty strong. Producer manufacturing looking pretty good. Transportation looking pretty good. Consumer durables looking pretty good. And health technology looking nice. Eli Lilly bouncing very nicely to an extent off of its earnings yesterday. Intuitive Surgical here on watch as well. Regeneron strong. So some strength to be found in pretty much all of these sectors today, guys. Back to you.
Not necessarily. I mean, some strength that we see a lot of strength in the market right now, but not to be left out was Reddit. I know we didn't talk too much about this positively because of the price action at the open or going into the open, but that's a pretty big hammer that it just dropped in with a nice recovery. So the good news is, hey, it's holding these highs. Almost everything I'm looking at right now is a mean reversion, but Reddit, if you take the other side of this, obviously, it was a good report from any sort of fundamental aspect of it, and it's getting bought up. I think it's maybe trapped a few people on some VWAP and underneath shorts. That can hold, I think, above 125 for any measure. You can get a secondary push, no questions asked. And what's crazy about this is if you were looking at that in the aftermarket, 140, just a brick wall at 140. Not to say that you ever want to be trading in the aftermarket. We know how dangerous that can be. I would never advocate it, but sometimes the levels, they hold so cleanly. So I said we wanted to make sure that we're not in this a million times, and we waited for it to make a bit of a crest. Well, you just did the wick shimmy at 50, which is fine. Like I think I got 01s actually, not 2s when I look back at the execution, or 01.5. But we're right back in. When it wicks the top, I don't mind jumping right back in to the south side of the trade because that's the level we like. VWAP is $1.20 down. I think we have plenty of room for this to get us where we need to be. I see this Scuba Hank. What do you think about 285 break on Tesla? Well, you're needling me, Scuba Hank, because 285 was the exact level that on my note that I'm like, if it fails 285, that's the short, and it failed 285. So you can't think of something as a key price level and not want to trade off of it. Right now, it's a bullish look on Tesla in a bullish market. The short has already happened, and when something does this V shape and it fools people into the continuation short at VWAP, I'm not usually thinking short this $3 from the high of the day. It's just not in my litmus. Like the 85 short to me was earlier. I think maybe it's a scalp play at this point. I would treat this now if I was trying to short it like Robinhood, like try to get it off a distinct top instead of hoping for something tight on the VWAP. So I'm staying away from that one with a 10-foot pull because that would just be a revenge trade. I didn't get it off the price when we wanted it earlier at 85. I don't want to compound that by taking this kind of in the middle of nowhere at this point. Like I would let it press higher if I had to think I wanted to do it here. Family value, so many bull hammer candles on Tesla. That's the other thing. Like it looks bullish right now. I'm just not thinking short anymore. Earlier, yeah, fine, but not anymore.
Yeah, I'm still staring down this tape, man. This 435 halves, kind of again, kind of consolidating. You can see the futures not really doing too much. So I'm like, okay, if the futures are pretty much flat, what's the likelihood of coming into VWAP? I don't know. but I think it's pretty decent. But 435 halves. Let's see if that can hold there. I added a little bit there to the position underneath that 436, but again, pretty much chopping and holding that VWAP as of right now, so I do have to respect that as much as possible. But if the market's not going to do too much, I think a bit of a continuation to the downside here, maybe poised. 30-minute chart. If you guys are you want to see what I'm looking at on Softy, look at the 15-minute chart, look at the 30-minute chart, and the answers are not much further than those two kind of charts, indicators, whatever you want to call them there. A bit of a reversion back down into VWAP, and we got that VWAP pretty much. But the futures catching a little bit of a bid here, so I do have to stay pretty nimble, I would say. But that 435, man, there's something about 35s. I don't know, a little bit of a psychological thing. I just like 35s. I like putting in trades in and around 35s. I like quarters as well. 25s are great. But yeah, psychological levels fun to play around with. And interestingly enough, sometimes you see a lot of interest at those psychological levels as well. Again, because at the end of the day, it's humans who are trading. It's humans who are programming these algos for now. But yeah, 435s. Here comes the last quarter as the NASDAQ kind of chops around that 20,150 as of right now. So let's see if we can print below this last quarter here on Softy. That 436 hold was pretty interesting. There it is. So covered some on 435s. Thank you, come again. What do we do with that 435, Neil? I have no idea, but if we're going to bid a little bit aggressively off of that, I do want to piece off a lot more into that. And wow, look at that, 40 pennies off of the test of 435. So I'm going to cover some of them there, and let's see, 64s now. That's where I added. I'm just going to do a bit of a break even on this one. Let's see what we do chopping around that VWAP. This might be the place to get involved for the continuation long because we've come into VWAP. Opening range high I'm seeing here on Softy. Where is that? That's pretty much nearby as well. 430. Let me just see what it is specifically here. Where is it at though? The high is 434.28. 434.28. So we're still $1 above that. That's the opening range high on the 5-minute chart. We'll see if that one comes in, but this is what I was looking for. All I was looking for was a test and a print of 435. We got a little bit of that coming into the day, so that might be more than what I'm looking for, but only got a piece on left, about 33% of the position left here to see what we do in and around this 35 VWAP, right? We're kind of coming into VWAP. Futures looking a little weak as well. Let's see what's going on with it, Derek.
What's going on here is a pretty weak U.S. dollar. We talked yesterday about how it looks like we're making a higher low in the daily chart. Well, here is the 5-minute chart, and we're very much still at a downtrend. But I think really striking here is the fact that this morning at 8:30 on the NFP numbers, what do? We tap that 100 level, and we cannot hold it, and we drop. So this 100 has been really key resistance support. I think that false breakout of the level this morning on NFP looking pretty interesting here. And guess what we had today? We had a Truth Social post from Donald Trump about inflation. Donald Trump said in all caps, no inflation, the Fed should lower its rate. So Donald Trump still really pushing for rate cuts here, saying also in this post, and I quote, billions of dollars are pouring in from tariffs. So more, I guess, inflation talk here from Trump, but he might not be happy at that May meeting, guys, which is just next week, because 98.7% of participants are now pricing in no rate change. So this is actually much higher than we were seeing even in recent days. Does not look like Trump is going to get that rate that he wants. And even worse is that he might not even get it in June either. Initially, June, for a while, we had seen the majority of participants expecting a 25 basis point cut at the very least. Now, 60% of participants expecting we're not going to get a rate change. So looks like we might go 2 straight months now without a cut. Let's see how Donald Trump reacts, given that we know he really wants these rates to be cut, and he's made that incredibly clear to Fed Chair Jerome Powell. But before we send you back to the guys, here's the thank you to our friends at ProfitX, because if you're looking for unbeatable odds in the biggest games, switch to ProfitX's peer-to-peer platform where you set the price. No more one-size-fits-all lines. It's like crafting your own picking strategy with real-time trading tools. Secure the best odds, strike the action, and watch your plays come alive. Experience total control at every step. ProfitX, sports playing reimagined. Users can use code TraderTV to get our sign-up offer of 2% cash back up to $300. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara. So I know what nobody was going over that pullback on Microsoft there, and there's the pivot. There's the Fed pivot.
Oh.
Sabonis. It's Powell's head on Sabonis. For anyone that doesn't know, he's actually a pretty good center. We got our first take on. Whoops, I was going to show XYZ, which is this bar coding now. When I see this accumulation, I took like 10% out when it broke 90 underneath, but look at that consolidation. So I don't need to be adding to that one, but I do want to start trimming it. We got right back to where we entered the losing short, and I want to hold for VWAP here. I also want to look for a good place to add to it, which could be the lower high. Might get a chance at 49.8. Like, it's looking a little bit more like the back end of the trade now, so I want to look for a good, solid secondary entry. Like, if I think about it this way, from VWAP, it kind of did this. Like, I was in on the wick high, but from the volume-weighted average price, it held trend, broke it here, tried to go up, and I actually took some out. So I think it gives me a chance to add to this in the high 60s to mid 70s on Robinhood. So that's what I want to try to do here, just try to explain that. Oleg, why is Coinbase lagging BTC? Well, I think sometimes this has happened before. This is not new for Coinbase. We've seen it before. So it's not the same thing. Hold on a second. Okay, so this is happening in XYZ, and I'm not bidding anything in the 70s. Sorry, I just went 30 pennies in the money out of nowhere, so I wanted to make sure I got that bid out there. I'm still holding on to about 70% of XYZ for the volume-weighted average price. But Coinbase has done this before. It's not a new story for it to be lagging. When you look at this, technically speaking, 210, go back to March, the second high in March, and you've got overhead resistance on Coinbase that it has been unable to punch through. So it's got its own things going on, right? Like, Bitcoin is breaking through resistance, and coin needs to be dragged up to get through its own resistance. So all I can tell you is we know what resistance means. It just means there's a seller, and right now there is a seller on Coinbase in this range. Somebody wants to sell it when it gets close to 210. And so it's respecting that level a lot. So that's all you can ever do, is just try to respect price levels as much as you can. So it's going to lag until it can chew through that supply, if it even does so. And there's no guarantees on something like that. So I always find it's useful information. If Bitcoin pulls back, maybe you can catch some shorts over in Coinbase. So finally, like I said, we got on the right side of the V, is what we like to say, but it's not a V. It's just a pull back into VWAP. I'm now half out. And I want to be 80% out. I have one more bid in front of VWAP. I'll be 80% out if we get to VWAP, and I want to hold some for a volume-weighted average price breakdown on block. Robinhood, same plan of action, similar plan of action, I should say. We're patient with it. We did get the fill, or I did get the fill on that lower high. I meant to save that trend line just for myself. So the reason I wanted the add here on Robinhood is just, there's your wick top. That's the reentry because of the wick out. But then you break the trend. So I wanted to be shorting this trend break, which I didn't, obviously. So when we get some out there, we just jump back into those shares, and now we'll play the trend back into VWAP. I'm going to bid 49 quarters as well. Why? Because that was the first top consolidation level. I want to get something out in that quarter mark on the way down to the volume-weighted average price. Only about 4 minutes to go, everybody. And I see in the chat, I like this. Donkey Trader, tell me something I want to hear. What? Oh, ARM is making some big moves up. Hey, the market's up 1.5%. If ARM wasn't up today, I'd be kind of ticked off. I like ARM. It's starting to really break this one out. If you look at that bottoming tail wick, this is where I learned my lesson big time on ARM, because it's the stock that I wanted to own, and I wanted to have a big position in my long-term account on it, and I managed to bungle the living you-know-what out of it on the IPO, being greedy and wanting good prices, so I ended up in nothing at any of the bottoms, and then started buying the intense dips. So when it made this bottoming tail candle, it's like, if you want a stock in your long-term and you're not buying it in a move like this, then you don't want the stock. So I pulled the trigger in here, and I was considering, when you get this kind of a move, like, it could just be giving me a free 50%, maybe trim a little bit. I might trim like 10, 15% or something going into 125, which, if I'm going to do that, I'm probably doing it after 11 o'clock, putting the order in, because we don't put orders in on our personal account while we're doing the show, but I'll tell you, I'm probably throwing something in there, just 10% out in front of 125 on ARM. Just seems like the prudent thing to do when you get yourself a bit of a win there. But shout out to you, Donkey Trader, for noticing that. I haven't traded ARM in a while for the day trade because its liquidity it's stunk recently. Like ARM used to be a really liquid stock. You could trade like anything else. Not anymore. It's just a very relatively illiquid stock, especially in terms of when you try to compare it to like the AMDs and the NVIDIAs of the world. Not that great as a day trade, unfortunately. Good stock long term though.
Yeah, definitely. Got to keep eyes out on some of those tickers in the personal. I know that I hold Apple in the personal, like many others, and as of recent, the shake and bakes have got me a little. I was like, oh, should I have done this, that, or the other? And then I realized I'm just like, just whatever, just hold it, just buy more. I think the last time I bought was 166s, so I was like, all right, well. Do I get more here? Do I sell and then buy back more later? All these decisions are definitely something I'm thinking about. But what I'm realizing more than anything else is sometimes when you're here every day and you're watching the daily price action, you can find interesting places to get in on your personal, right? Because I know Michael Noss says this as well. Price action is like there's a fractal nature to price action, which I really do believe in. Sure, it's not, if you're really good at like day trading skills might not transfer into investing skills 100%. I do agree with that. But price action is, I think, pretty much universal, regardless of whether you're buying and selling stocks, paper, tulips, bicycles. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever you like to buy and sell, I think price action, because it is driven by some sort of human element, definitely has some merit to it across the board. But yeah, 35's held on Softy, so I covered pretty much everything.
Who are you buying tulips for?
We did get lower. Who am I buying tulips for? I don't know. No, but the whole when I say tulips, the whole tulip craze, tulip fever, yeah.
Yes.
That happened. So I'm like, yeah, any markets, like you can go back in time and a display of supply and demand, it can be seen and studied across multiple markets. Doesn't have to be just the stock market. That's why I love markets. I was talking to Wayne about this last week as well. It's not necessarily a love for the stock market. It's a love for the game of buying and selling and supply and demand. That really kind of I have a thing for.
We didn't do this, but I'm going to get to it right now. Can we hit the lunch? What's for lunch, please?
Oh boy.
You have that button?
I'm curious.
So I know it's 11 o'clock, but we're not network TV. We can do whatever we want. I know we're going to the midday, but they can wait a minute. Okay, well, fine. I don't have the button. It's on Sean's.
Yeah,
but I can tell you. Well, first of all, we always have the fruit salad, but today there was a lot of. I've already eaten them all. I'm kind of craving like that. This is what was in it. This was really full at the beginning of the day, but there was delicious cantaloupe. Obviously, see blueberries, strawberries, and then some grapes in there. But the lunch today, where is it? Friday. There we are. Friday, May the 2nd. I don't have the lunch. It just tells us the breakfast pastries. Mine doesn't have. I have to scroll. Oh, there it is. Miso salmon, wok tossed noodles, broccoli, and chef's choice salad. There's only like 3 vegetables I don't like. Broccoli's one of them.
Oh, come on. Broccoli.
So salmon, wok tossed noodles, broccoli, and chef's choice salad. I'm getting a salad anyways because that's how I roll. But yeah, I'm not a big broccoli guy. It's just broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and cauliflower I don't like. I eat everything else. Those are the only 3, man.
I like it was a snack that one of my cousins used to give us when she was like babysitting us when we were kids. She would take the sliced cheese, just like cheddar, sliced cheese, broccoli, and she would just microwave it or heat it up. And yeah, melted cheese and broccoli, and with a little bit of salt and pepper, absolutely solid. I haven't had that in the longest time, but that reminded me of that. I like broccoli.
Some people like the broccoli.
Yeah, broccoli's solid. Come on.
Yeah, and every page is big ups to Japanese miso salmon.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. L87P. Come on, Neil, eat your broccoli. You know what? And I enforce this in our household. You're allowed to not like something as long as you've tried it. I tell my daughter that. Like, if you eat something and you don't like it, fine. You don't like this vegetable, what's the other vegetable you're going to eat? You don't want carrots, what else are you going to eat? As long as you're getting your vegetables, as long as you're getting everything that you need, you don't have to love every single food, but you can't tell me you don't like it if you didn't try it. That's a big thing in my household. I think that's utter nonsense. So believe me, I've eaten, and I'll eat broccoli. Like, don't get me wrong. If it's the only thing in front of me, I'm gonna gobble it up because you gotta have fuel for your body. But you also need fuel for your mind, everybody.
Yes.
And the best place to get that is with Learn to Trade, Joey Options, and Sharif. Go get them.
Oh. I like that. That's cool. Yes. That's cool.
There's my boy Fabian to the